Welcome everyone to the May 14th Greenville City Council meeting. Call the meeting to order. Roll call please.
Mayor White,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez.
Here.
Councilmember Martinez.
Here.
Councilmember Ortiz
Here.
and Councilmember Tipton.
Present.
Invocation by Pastor Deanna Salinas.
Good evening, everybody. The Bible says, if you need wisdom, ask our generous God, and he will give it to you. He will not rebuke you for asking. So, Father, I pray right now for this city council meeting, Father God, that your wisdom, your peace, understanding, and knowledge be here in the presence of all these people that are here today. And Father, that for the good of the city, Lord, the decisions are made, Father God. The decisions that will bring good, Father God. And I just thank you, Lord, that they will work in harmony and agreement, Father God. And we just thank you, Lord, because we are just honored to live here in Greenville, really, to live here in Greenfield and to look over this city and to pray for this city. And Father, I just ask this in the name of Jesus. And everyone says, amen.
All right, will you please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If we could, we'd like to move item J5 up to before J1 to become the new J1 and move everything else back
Okay.
down. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Public comments from the audience regarding items not on the agenda. This portion of the agenda allows an individual the opportunity to address the council on any items not on the closed session, consent calendar, public hearings, and city council business. Under state regulations, no action can be taken on non-agenda items, including issues raised under this agenda item. Members of the public should be aware of this when addressing the council regarding items not specifically referenced on this agenda. Do we have any public comments?
I'm wondering if you will allow me to use my timer on my phone. That way I can be seeing it instead of like trying to figure it out over there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay. All right. Greetings to everyone. I am Dr. Lourdes Villarreal. I have owned my house here in Greenville since 1990. And I'm here to talk to you about a problem that you're very much well aware of, and one which you have received many complaints already. I know this because city staff have told me this, and so have the code enforcement. The problem is this: vehicles block the curb space where we can put our trash bins. And so that has caused obviously many problems. The last time I had to put 2 of my 3 trash bins in between cars because there was no other space. And I called code enforcement to make sure that I wasn't going to be ticketed because I knew that was not the place to put them. And so when code enforcement came, she said, yes, that's fine. That's what other people have to do because this is a problem. The code enforcer also told me or gave me other suggestions. I have submitted this afternoon a detailed complaint to the city. So I'm not going to go into all the details because I can't since I'm limited on time. I will talk to you about one of the suggestions that was given and explain to you how really the suggestions given are safety risk, and also I could be at risk for being sued. So one of the suggestions was that I place my bins in front of the vehicle that was blocking the curb in front of my house. That would mean that I would be blocking the car the entrance to the driver's side, that that my bins would be blocking the road because they're so far away from the curb. That the bins could topple over, or somebody could topple them over, that I could be accused of damaging a vehicle if I place them there. That was one of the suggestions given. So as you can see, that is really not what should be happening. What should happen, the best solution, which other cities have implemented, is to have a city ordinance where spaces are designated for the trash bins, and on trash day, violators who are blocking the safe spaces, they should be fined, and not just warned, because then it's not going to work. And really, the city needs to take accountability and responsibility for this. I requested in my complaint that the city give me a written notice acknowledging that all these suggestions that they're given to me by the city and by code enforcement, and that they're aware that they could be a safety hazard, that somebody could complain that I've damaged a vehicle and then I could be sued, and that the city would take responsibility because the city is the one who's recommending that I do these things, because there is no ordinance so we can have safe spaces for our trash bins. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. We have anybody else in council chambers? Looks like we have some hands raised.
Yeah, please, yes.
Hi, good evening. Can everybody hear me?
We can, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I would like to start first by thanking Fire Chief Mr. Langford on the notices that he sent on weed abatement clearance to residents of our city of Greenfield. And I am assuming notices were sent to the city properties too. Weed abatement clearance was due May 1st, 2024. Thank you, Chief, for working and keeping our city safe. Notices sent were to trim hedges, cut grass, and keep the fields clear, dead, decayed, diseased, or hazardous trees, weeds, and overgrown, uncultivated vegetation, and so on. See Fire Chief if you need more information. Mayor, council members, Fire Chief can only do so much. What's next is some don't comply. Don't forget this includes the city too. I see reservoirs and city properties that are horrible and have not been touched to clear the hazardous dried weeds. Notices and reminders were given with plenty of time. Residents should not be the only ones being put in pressure to clear the weeds. What is holding up the city in cleaning their part? Email was sent to Mr. Wood on 11/28/23 regarding 7th and Maple water hydrant leak. That leak had been there for at least 2 months prior to that until it was reported. Leak was fixed, but the hydrant is now tied and wrapped up with orange plastic. I was told by the city staff it was hard to get water hydrants. I see 12th Street at Pirochas Camp and 2 water hydrants are being placed, there. And I'm happy that that's what's happening there. Street lines need to be repainted, potholes and better quality. And what is the status with the Greenfield signs? And in ending with this, Gabby Serrato personal tax is not the only thing happening in the heart of the valley. We got better things to do here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Good evening, City Council. First of all, I'd like to say I'm an activist and I advocate for survivors of sexual assault across the county and across the state. I don't think I should be limited. And Greenfield, again, raised in Greenfield. I have, ties to Greenfield. I have friends who still are in Greenfield. So it matters to me what happens in Greenfield and what the city leaders do or don't do. My comment is, again, what are you all doing to protect children from getting sexually assaulted and raped? Because I've been here for like a month asking the same questions. We know publicly Yaneli Martinez has supported a child sex offender who had raped a 12-year-old. So what is she doing? And along with, other council members, Miss Ariana, and Tipton and, the mayor and Ortiz, what are you all doing? Because you're publicly not denouncing her supporting in a letter a child sex rapist, but behind closed doors, what are you guys doing to make sure that, again, that it doesn't happen again, that you guys hold each other accountable, and this behavior, no matter how much you want to justify it, because again, it doesn't make sense to me. Council Martinez, agreed to, $3,000 to catch people that murdered, people from King City. So it's just confusing, her politics. Does she believe in, second chances, or does she not? Does she believe it only when it's, her family or friends that, that she'll defend? I'm just confused. So that is my comment. I really want to advocate for survivors. I'm not here attacking, I'm holding people accountable. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Nora,
Hello, good day, City Council. Could you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Good day. My name is Laura, and I just have a comment. I had last meeting, I told you guys about an emergency call I had at 12th Street at my property. Some emergency we had. However, I want to comment on, was it necessary for Jamie to investigate to the firefighters MPD regarding this emergency call that happened on 4/18? If you go out there, there is all these cones everywhere. The street is uneven, so it is impeding or not letting freely enter for the firefighters and ambulance to go into properties because of this construction that is going on. I want to also state that California Penal Code Section 148.2 states it's a misdemeanor to interfere with the discharge of duty by a fireman or emergency rescue personnel. So all this construction not going anywhere, residents there are having issues if you guys keep on rescheduling and not notifying the residents what's going on. If they do, Jamie and Tyler and Doug are not doing it in a timely manner. They wait till the last minute to notify us. Last city council meeting, Jamie said she was gonna notify us within days, and she hasn't yet. Barely today, Tyler reached out in an email this morning. I mean, there should be some protocols to this schedule. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other public comment, either in chambers or online? All right, seeing none, I will now move to comments from City Council. Councilman Tipton.
Good evening. I've just got a couple here. First one is one I kind of always harp on is that stop signs, yield signs, and speed limits are not optional. I've been seeing a lot more people, particularly on the Walnut overcrossing, not paying attention to stop signs. I do notice that the speed trailer is out there again on Walnut, and I thank you for that. I've actually seen a couple of vehicles hit 60+ miles an hour on that in the last couple of days, which is kind of odd considering they're starting from a dead stop. Well, they should be starting from a dead stop there. But yes, definitely stop, yield, and speed limit signs are definitely not optional. Another thing I'm going to harp on real quick is commercial vehicles in residential areas. I've been getting several complaints from buses in the residential areas, stopping for extended amounts of time in the middle of the street to discourage passengers. And they're completely blocking the residential streets because they're pulled up in such a way that nobody can get by on either side. Just as a reminder, commercial vehicles over 5 tons are not allowed in the residential areas. And that is posted actually the entrance to most of the residential areas. Next thing I have on the list is email addresses for council members. And if you're going to send one to the council, to all the council members, I would actually please ask you to include Paul Wood in it as well to make sure. And my email address is dtipton@ci.greenfield.ca.us. and I've had the same email address for 14 years. So please remember that. If you're trying to address to me. And one of the things I actually wanted to bring up there too is I actually kind of like the way Salinas does it, is they don't give out the individual council members' emails. They give District 1 at cityofsalinas.org, District 2 at cityofsalinas.org. So maybe that would be something we could go through and do forward. It still may come to our personal emails, the city, but we could have that just District 1, District 2, District 3, District 4, and mayor. So it makes it easier, so you don't have to go through and hunt down everybody's email addresses. They can just send it to your own district. Hot weather's coming. Look out for children, pets, and the elderly, those who may not be able to tell you that they're having issues with the heat, especially out there when the sun's out and the pavement gets hot too. The kids may go out there, burn their feet, burn their hands. Your animals may burn their feet. Please watch out for them. Spay or neuter your pets. It's the law. If you're having problems, SNP and on our neighborhood pet project at SCAR can actually help you. SNP does their monthly free, if I remember right, or low cost spay or neutering clinic here in town. And I hope that we're going to be continuing that going forward. One of the things that leads into the next discussion is I've started having discussions with Chris Lopez about the possibility of doing something about a vet down here in South County. As some of you may be aware, the vet at Las Conchas Vet in Soledad recently closed. They sent all of their people, their patients up to Romy Lane Pet Hospital. And they've been advertising pretty heavily, I've noticed. But that leaves us with only King City Vet here in South County. And there have been some concerns expressed about her, about the new ownership down there as well. And the fact that they're still focusing primarily on the larger animals, and they're not focusing on all of the domestic animals. So I've begun discussions with Mr. Lopez about the possibility of creating something like a veterinary healthcare district for South County, and he's looking into that with the county council. Let's see, battery disposal. I know this is something that Jim Langborg has been harping on. For battery disposal, you're not supposed to throw them away. You can put them in a 1-quart bag only on top of your recycle bin for regular household batteries. If you've got lithium-ion batteries, those need to be treated as household hazardous waste. You need to take them to either Hole on Road, Johnson Canyon, or Madison Lane, or there are certain events, and you can find them on svswa.org's website. There are certain events where they have a household hazardous waste truck that will come out. Like I know for our big event back here, the cleanup day, they were out there for that event. So they do come around for those events as well. And that's where you need to get rid of your lithium-ion batteries, like in your computers and things like that. Or the new hand tools, the powered hand tools have lithium-ion batteries, because those can actually be a fire hazard to be disposed of in the garbage. Sharps disposal is the same thing. Sharps disposal needs to be in household hazardous waste. It was actually a concern that was brought up by the Solid Waste Authority a couple of weeks ago. Is apparently they had a worker get stuck by a needle that was just disposed of. So nothing, thankfully, he didn't get anything wrong with him, but it was a concern. The next thing is something that Dr. Villarreal kind of touched on is concern over street and front yard parking, blocking handicap ramps, blocking sidewalks, blocking driveways. Remember that parking in front of a driveway is illegal, even if it's your own driveway. That's illegal. Parking, blocking a handicap ramp, parking across a sidewalk, all of those are illegal. Please remember that. And the last thing I have is street sweepers. I know we've talked time and time again about doing an ordinance about not having parking on the street for street sweeper time. I'd also like to coordinate with Tri-Cities to find out when the street sweepers actually come. Because one went by my house at 7:15 yesterday morning. And there's no way that you did anything on the street because everybody was still parked out there. So I think we need to bring that up and work with Tri-Cities to find out what the schedule is and put a city ordinance together about not allowing parking on the street sweeping days. And that's all I have.
Right. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So I think I just want to go ahead and for full disclosure, because of the comment that we had from a very concerned resident, that anything that I say or I even post on my council page is the voice of Councilmember Martinez or the individual. Yaneli, Councilmember Martinez is not going to be the rest of the city council, because I've been hearing comments where they're bringing other council members and throwing them under the bus. And again, for full disclosure, so hopefully that person is able to hear the message. And so I think that more anything, something that the mayor and I were talking about earlier is that June 1st is just right around the corner, and a lot of our seniors are graduating. And I know me as a mom, I'm super excited because my senior is graduating. And so I really want to go ahead and hopefully have the conversation started. I know that the city of Greenfield has been doing an amazing job. Thanks to Fabiola's leadership of hiring youth for a certain amount of time, but I hope that we could continue to extend this opportunity for many more youth and many more years. But also, hopefully, Mayor, and with Rotary, you're able to talk to businesses to give our young individuals an opportunity to get a job started in the community. Like we mentioned this year, this senior class has gone through a lot. I mean, you guys seen the news. Greenfield is not perfect by any means, but what city is? I mean, there's no perfect city in the world, but we as a community need to step up together and really make sure that we support the youth. And for me, I don't want those young adults that are perfect, that are gonna be telling yes at everything, that are gonna do everything we tell them. I want those diamonds in the rough. I really want to highlight that Greenfield has a lot of youth that are technically diamonds in the rough, and they just need that mentorship, that support. So to every single parent that's out there listening from this graduating class of 2024, doesn't matter where your child's going. If it's going directly to Berkeley, if it's staying and supporting our local Valley Promise, just know that you're doing the correct thing and supporting your child. And making sure that the children understand, our youth understands that there's always an opportunity for them to do any type of internship, not only with city departments, but also local businesses. So I just really want to congratulate every single one of the students. I know they're at the end, they're stressing, but it's going to be the best life is just yet to begin. So don't worry, my amazing youth class of 2024. And again, it's going to be June 1st, and let's congratulate them. Let's celebrate them. One other thing that I wanted to mention was that I don't know if you guys have the scheduling for the California state budget by Governor Newsom, which is going to be by Zoom on the May 22nd at 9 a.m. And I know that a lot of people are talking regarding the budget, what's going to happen, what's not going to happen. So if you have the opportunity, local electeds, even community members, because you could advocate at a local level, at a state level, but just making sure that we're keeping an eye on our state budget briefing that is going to happen May 22nd, 2024, because that's a lot of grant opportunities, not just for the community, but future job opportunities for our youth. And with that, I think I will end my comment just saying that I'm just excited for the youth. There's lots of amazing youth out there. And again, I really want to highlight that for me, our students are diamonds in the rough, and they just need guidance and support from the community. And so kudos to every single one of you students of class of 2024.
Very good. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem?
Good evening, everyone. I have a few things. Just a reminder that this Saturday is the Women's Empowerment Conference from 10 to 2 that Mayor White will be part of, as well as for the Greenfield Rotary. I hope to see our community come out. I was going to talk about the public comment regarding the street improvements, but I think we've belabored that point enough that we really need to address those issues. There are concerns kind of in connection with that. I think that maybe all of us, but I'll speak for myself only, have been getting an increase in concerns about the lack of response from either city staff or department heads or the city manager. So I would ask that that be addressed. And just look at the history of, if there are unanswered inquiries from residents that we should be getting back to. The Greenfield High School graduation, or no, there may be some Greenfield residents that are graduating right now this Friday. And so I just want to say congratulations to any of you or parents, the kids who are graduating. My daughter's graduating, so kudos to anybody who's doing it, for, you know, your hard work, your perseverance. It takes a lot of determination to stick with something you start. So I just want to say congratulations on that. And the last thing is, there was a student, actually a Hartnell student, that was on the bus riding home from school from Hartnell to Greenfield. And she shared that the MST had to stop and pull over because there was somebody on board that appeared to be having a seizure. And it wasn't a seizure. It turns out the bus driver stopped the bus, asked immediately if anybody had Narcan, and somebody did, thankfully, and it was an overdose. The person was fine after they were okay, not totally fine once they had the Narcan administered. So I just want to say that as a reminder, if you have Narcan, please carry it with you. I feel like it was a lesson that was kind of being told to me really loudly because the students shared this. But just a week before that, I actually came across somebody who I ended up realizing was deceased already. But it was an overdose. And the first thing I thought when I saw the person, not knowing that they were already deceased, was, I don't have my Narcan with me. Like, I have Narcan, I have it in my office, I have some at home, I have some in another car, but I was in a different car that day. And my first thought was like, you know, dang, I don't have my Narcan, because I knew that that was a situation that I could have used it in. So I just want to encourage everybody. Sometimes we get it and we have it in one place, but that reminded me, I need to make sure I have it everywhere. That's what it's for. And although it wouldn't have helped in that situation, it was a reminder that we can save a life. We have the tools on us. So that's all I have. Oh, the Magnolia thing. No, I do want to acknowledge Councilmember Ortiz shared with us at our team building night that she'll be working with Magnolia Place to do like a welcoming for the residents, and Councilmember Martinez and I were talking about it, and I would love to be part of that and sponsor an activity for the residents. And so hopefully we can make that be a great event for our seniors. And so I look forward to that. So I just wanted to highlight that too. That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else, please?
Good evening. To get on that topic, I was going to bring the flyers in today for the council, and I ran out of ink. So I'll have Paul send them by email tomorrow morning. But we will be having a senior picnic at the Magnolia for the phase 1 and phase 2 to welcome the new residents there. We'll be doing some food, and they do have a space where they can plant, do like some gardening. So we're going to make sure that we bring in some stuff. So all the people, they can either take the plant to their home or they can plant it there in their garden. So we'll be having that on the 25th. I'm hoping the weather cooperates, and it will be from 11 to 2. And Councilmember Martinez and Mayor Pro Tem have said that they would like to help out. So I'm hoping that that works out with their schedules and that they can be there. And Mayor and Mr. Tip, thank you. I wanted to start off first with the talk about something that Councilmember Martinez just spoke about, was the intern program. I know that we do have one, you know, for here in the office. I think it's really great, and it seems like it's really been working out. But I'd really like to see an intern program for other kids or young adults. You know, it's kind of like with the banners, you know, we only get a certain amount of kids that are going up on the banners. These are kids who have done really well in school and sports and whatnot. But not all kids will meet those goals. You know, not all kids are going to be, you know, the top students, the top athletes, you know, and nothing against the ones that do, you know, I'm happy and I'm so proud of them, and kudos to their parents. But there's the children who aren't like that, you know, they deserve every opportunity that the city can offer them also. And so I'd really like to see us open up our internship program, if not in the office and maybe with Public Works. I don't know how that work out with insurance or whatever. But they deserve an opportunity. Putting a little bit of money in a young person's pocket makes a big difference, and they learn responsibility. A lot of them will actually be helping out their parents. And even if it is just for a few short weeks, even if it was for 2 weeks, it would make a difference in their lives. So I'd really like to see if we can go ahead and open that up and to a few more kids in the city. And I think that's a really great idea. If the mayor could, or Rotary could talk to some of the businesses, as Councilmember Martinez said, and work with them and let them know. I'm sure that there's probably some grants that maybe Fabiola can work up, or, there's got to be something out there that we can start bringing in more kids into learning what it is to work, to earn some money, to learn responsibility. It's really good for them. So, also, another thing that I was thinking about, there's been a lot of talk now about entrepreneurs and, people being able to actually sell food from their home. And I do believe Councilman Martinez talked about this before, that, this is something that's really important to me because I'm an entrepreneur. I worked for a long time with one company and then I just ventured out on my own. I did it very late in life, but if you're given the right tools, you're given information and you have a dream, it can happen. It can happen very easily. It's not that hard. But I think that as a city, we can do more to help these people along, maybe do some business classes. I think there was another city here, maybe it was Soledad or King City, that actually was going to do something like this, talk about entrepreneurs and bring in some programs and some people to talk about it. So I'd really hope that maybe we can work on something like that also, Paul. I've been having trouble with my emails. I try to get them on my phone. They don't come on my phone till like 5 days later. Today on my iPad, I got about 20. So I'm not ignoring anybody's emails or trying to answer back. It's just that sometimes this stuff doesn't work. So hopefully I'll have city staff look at that. I wanted to commend our police department for their work in working with other departments and agencies to bring some justice to the people that lives were taken. And I think it's really important that we praise our officers. We have good officers. We have a wonderful chief. And this is something really important that had to happen. And it doesn't go unrecognized. So I just want you to know that. I'm very proud. And I think that's it. Yep. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I do have several things. First off, I want to thank you all for participating in the team building exercise that we had a couple of weeks ago. I think it was great for us to get to know each other a little bit better and a little bit less structured environment. So I think that was a great thing. I'm glad we finally got that taken care of and met together. Greenfield Rotary is having the Women's Empowerment Fair, as it was mentioned earlier. It's this Saturday from 10 to 2 at the Greenfield Memorial Hall. There's free food, free self-defense class, free workshop, free catered lunch, free school supplies, free menstrual hygiene products, free workwear, free books, and lots of great speakers. Sheriff Nieto is going to be speaking along with Chris Lopez. Our own Mayor Pro Tem is going to be a guest speaker for us. Chantel DeLuba from Monterey County Firefighter of the Year from Greenfield is a speaker, and Evelyn Fullwood, a general manager and shareholder for BJ's Restaurant, who's graciously supplying the food for 100 meals there. We would love to have anybody in the community that's interested to please come out. There's also going to be quite a few vendors there that are with a lot of information to promote women. So please come out if you can. Chief Mixer and I attended the 25th Annual Victims' Rights Ceremony on Friday, April 26th at the courtyard of the Salinas Courthouse in Salinas. The ceremony was part of the National Crimes Rights Week, with a ceremony honoring all victims of violent crime. I want to thank you, Bill, for attending. I attended the Salinas Valley Groundwater Sustainability Agency community meeting on May the 3rd. Was here in our chambers. It was a presentation to the community about the future of groundwater in our area. It's one of several meetings held throughout the valley over the last couple of weeks, and it's to engage and educate the community about water issues. There were several speakers, including Norm Groot of the Monterey County Farm Bureau, Margaret Golden, a conservation coordinator from Cal Water, and Abby Ostavar, water policy specialist from Montgomery and Associates. For those of you that don't know, the Salinas Valley is divided into many subbasins. We are in the Arroyo Seco Cone Management Area, and our subbasin is sustainable, but others in the valley are not. The state plan is to achieve basin sustainability in all the basins by 2040. It's a huge problem for an area that's really dependent on agriculture. So if you'd like to know more about water issues, check out the Salinas Valley Groundwater Sustainability Agency website at svbgsa.org. I also attended the senior social last Wednesday. Thank you to Meals on Wheels and of course Samuela for our community outreach department for organizing the event. Approximately 75 to 80 seniors had lunch, danced, and listened to music, and had a great social time. Thanks also to Paul Mugen and the community development department, who had a booth showing and educating the community on the many development projects that are at various stages of the area. Great job. Thank you. It's really, I think, great to see such a positive event in our area for our seniors. Really important for our community. Many of the people there were all very dressed up, very much an outing for them. So I just think it's a great event that we're sponsoring. All right, I think that's what I have.
Mayor, can I add something really quick that you reminded me with the water? I wanted to go ahead and promote and send a big shout out to the Monterey Water Keepers. They're literally working out of the peninsula area. They're supporting Greenfield community residents, and I was able to attend one of their beach cleanup this past Saturday, which was very rewarding for me, just hiking up and down one of the beaches in Watsonville and picking up trash, which was very rewarding again because of all the stress with work and life. So they're constantly having trips, so follow them on their Facebook page. Their leader is Chelsea too. She's amazing, and they're able to communicate and help support the Greenfield community. So they'll take you on hikes, beach cleanups, kayaking, if anybody wants to do that. I don't do that, but they have so many free events. So take advantage, follow them. And again, we're talking about water conservation issues. And so they're right here in our backyard. So support the Monterey Water Keeper.
All right. Sure.
Why not? There was a conversation on social media about the welcome to Greenfield signs. And I was speaking to Paul yesterday, and we were talking about the foundation over at the south end of town. And I said, I went by 2 times already and I didn't see it. I don't see it. He said he almost passed by, was almost past it before he saw it. So I went out there today and I made the turn by Mornini's, and I was like, okay, well, I still didn't see it. So I had to go back again and went further out. I saw it and I took pictures and I posted it on social media. So please, work is getting done. That foundation looks amazing. I love the fact that it's like river rock. And so that's really, kind of, it's what we're about here in the valley, with the Arroyo Seco, with the rivers, and it looks amazing. It's huge. The sign is enormous, but, the work is getting done. I think people are focusing on this one over here with the ugly red thing on it. But if you take a look over there, work is getting done and it looks amazing. It's going to be really nice when it's done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll move to item I, the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered routine and may be approved by one action of city council unless a request for removal for discussion or explanation received prior to time council votes on the motion to adopt. I will open it to public comments for the consent calendar. Seeing none, I will entertain a motion unless somebody would like to say something.
Move to approve.
The motion to approve, do you have a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. All right. Mayor's presentation, proclamation, and communication and resolutions. So we will move to presentation on the Harvest Festival.
I don't know if it was up from before or. Oh, it went.
Morning, council. Thank you for having me. I'm going to share my screen. And on the screen, it's actually just a silent video, slideshow of last year's Harvest Festival. And I figured we can have that up as we talk about some of the updates for this year and even answer any questions you all might have about the 2024 Harvest Festival. I also have Victor here, the event director. If you guys have any questions that I can't answer, he would definitely be able to answer them. Yes, thank you. So I hope you guys enjoy that video while we talk a little bit. Can you guys see it? Yeah, you can. It's not playing on your end, but it's playing on my end. Let's see. Press the wrong button. Yeah, it's very pixelated. Sorry about that. So, so since we're in the beginning stages of planning, we do have a couple of exciting updates, as some of you, all of you already know. And we posted this on social media as well, that this 2024 Harvest Festival will be a 2-day festival. So that's very exciting. We also have many media sponsors that Victor can share a little bit more about if you have any questions. Those media sponsors were a huge part of bringing awareness to this event. Just to give you an idea from last year, according to this data collecting agency, there were nearly 15,000 people present at last year's Harvest Festival. So that was some data collected by Placer AI. So we're excited to see how this year's brings a lot more people from around South County and other places to see what we have to offer them. I will answer any questions that you guys have about the festival, and so is Victor.
Where is it actually going to be at? So we know it's on ACR, but how much space are we taking up for 2 days?
So that would be similar to last year, which is Oak Avenue to Walnut Avenue.
And it's going to be shut down completely for 2 days?
Yes, that is the plan. Of course, we're still in the beginning stages, so we haven't actually met with all of the exact details about how that route is going to work. Some of the ideas were keeping part of it open for evening time traffic, but those were just some of the comments that were being brought up. But of course, not everything is set in stone yet, because we've met once with all department heads, and after that, we're still continuing to meet about how the traffic is going to work.
Is it possible for the council to submit ideas or suggestions?
Absolutely. So actually our upcoming meeting, which is in June, we
wanted to invite you all, whoever is available, and coordinate with your availability to bring you to our next few meetings as well for the Harvest Festival.
Because I think that we've all heard comments, whether good or suggestions or whatever. So, just kind of have to remember all of them and put them out there and see if maybe we can, fine tune it a little bit.
Yes, of course. And
Can I
go ahead.
complete?
Yes.
Yeah, everyone is welcome. My name is Victor Garcia. I'm the festival director. Everyone is welcome, even to give us a call. We don't have to wait for a meeting. You can just reach out if you have a concern or a suggestion. We will work with you. We've been inviting everyone, and whoever shows up is very welcome. But like I said, phone call away I answer the phone like 24 hours a day, honestly. And I love working with the people. And there's a lot of benefit of having 2-day festival versus a 1-day festival. Okay. As much as small city it is, it's a huge festival that a lot of places would love to have it, but we have it in Greenfield. And it has a lot behind it than just closing streets, why 2 days. There's more behind it. There's support for new vendors. There's support for the economy of downtown. There's a lot of work behind it. There's a lot of volunteers, also city departments getting involved, everyone doing their job to have a successful festival. The other thing I can tell you is the vendors are really happy about it. I run festivals that are 2 or 3 days in other places, and the way they see it as a vendor, and you spoke about supporting entrepreneurs, and that you're one yourself. So the way they see it is, okay, so I come in one day and make a little bit of profit, my investment, and next day is of pure profit. So you already pay for your business license, your seller's permit. It's all paid for 2 days, 3 days, actually good for like 2 or 3 days. And why not use it 2 days, And you set up everything in the morning early one day. When I set it up the previous day and run it, there's of course there's gonna be people with concerns, and that's why we're open to anything. So we can make you part of it and make you feel like, okay, these guys know what they're doing, and we need everybody's support. We need people to be advocates for us, and be behind the idea. And it might be your idea, and that we we add to the festival or to our projects. But we have more than one project here, not just the Harvest Festival, which makes me really happy because that's what I like, working with the communities. And Greenfield is very open to reaching out to their community. And I've seen it. I'm here today, and I invite you to ask any questions right now, concerns that, like I said, we don't need to wait, but you are welcome anytime of our meetings, any day.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Question. I'm looking at the pictures and I'm over here smiling, just remembering the fun. I even missed the parade. Sorry, Mayor and council member Steve. But I know the biggest attraction, and I love this about our community, obviously the different stages of music. Sandy and Tony are amazing, so keep them too, to pump up the crowd. Even though Sandy got the worst of it because she got the walnut area where all the wind hit, and so it was really difficult for her. But at the end, con la Sonora, they took over. I mean, that was the highlight. But there was a lot of there was so much to do last year that people had to pick and choose what they wanted to do. I know the Banda area was the popular one over here by Walnut. As soon as the Banda got there, they were running a little bit late. But then also Los Luchadores. I know that's something also that is like key. And so I'm like thinking, because it was so hot last year, how can we keep our seniors? Because I literally had people that with different disabilities, seniors that were just there for the lucha. And it's like, you're going to sit in that chair for like 2 hours. It's not starting, but they wanted a good seat. So how can we support having like shade for them in the future? I mean, because that was popular. And then the third attraction that we had for the first time, Los Voladores,
Oh,
which was amazing, but I'm giggling because I'm looking at the picture. I don't know if any of you got a chance to see them. We were imagining Los Voladores like we do in Mexico. They were gonna be huge.
Mhm.
And then they were told no because of security, city policy and whatnot,
Insurance.
liability, and you
Yes.
can't. So they had like the little mini tour. You'll see the picture right now. But that was huge. Everybody wanted to see that. It was culture. It was just a little bit of everything. So honestly, Victor, you did an amazing job, Fabiola. I mean, you're the one carrying the baton for the city, but there are just so much things to do. I'm just thinking prepared because climate change is affecting our weather. So prepare for the heat, maybe having like cooling centers along the way. I know that a lot of people came to my my tent. I was promoting my work. But they would come not because they wanted to see my work or get my information. They came because they wanted shelter. And I was like, hey, I'm gonna start charging for this. Because I was pretty spacious. Even I think Paul, I don't know if you got a chance to go in there, but you were hanging out there. So yeah, thinking about those little scenarios, just like cooling stations, especially your seniors, those that don't want to move from the luchadores area. But overall, I love it. I'm just concerned, council member Ortiz mentioned 2 days, maybe community, we will start complaints because it's gonna cut off certain streets, but hopefully if there's a community meeting that you guys could offer, so the community could come and give their input and just hear from them. But overall, I'm looking at the pictures and I'm just smiling. I wish I could see the voladores higher up. I don't know if we could change the policy now or we could get them insurance, but they were amazing. Everything was amazing.
yeah, they are talking to us, but I told them, we gotta figure out a way to, for liability purposes. But as soon as we posted they were coming, the advertising started moving farther away from the area. And that's a really good point about having the hydrate stations. I really like that one. Probably we need to enforce that one, with the volunteers. She's right, and maybe we can find some canopies, and we will figure it out. We create a sub delegation for everything we need to do. So we'll find someone that will do that for us. And thank you for that observation. And that's what we like to hear from you. How can we improve it? So that way you can make sure people know that we're listening to them, but we want to work with everybody. And the today is just official, but I think the festivities could start the whole week. If I had a business, I start my festivities on Monday, previous Monday to Sunday. And if I had a business over here, and that's one of the areas we're gonna be working face to face with the business owners in that sector to invite them and see what kind of input they need or advice or what they idea they have. We can work with them. Fabiola is gonna be doing that with me, Angela, her team. So for us, it's very important that we listen to them because we are in their hometown, in their backyard. We want to make sure they know we're not just want to implement our ideas, but everybody's got to be within everybody. And when we come to the meetings, trust me, all the departments come with great ideas, city departments. So we're not alone. We are very supportive.
Maybe just pretty quick, sorry, Mayor. What you guys did with the event, with the Salinas event, our first music at the park, was amazing. And I think one thing that really captured, even though I missed out on the discount, but Tamalazo decided to go ahead and collaborate with the city. Maybe if you guys do that with the businesses, have some sort of special for those that do decide to go get a drink or a meal. That would really kind of feel like, oh, we're being listened to, we're being appreciated. But I mean, that worked with Tamalazo. Everybody saw Selena for a little bit, then they took off to get their conchitas and chocolate and whatnot. So just
every time now that we come to Greenfield, we stop at Tamalazo.
Okay.
I didn't know they were there until I started working there, and now we come here and we stop there. And just
I'm
to
gonna be happy when you hear you say that.
just to mention something also, Bobby mentioned about my media partnership, and they're all talking about coming to Greenfield to give special rates to the business in Greenfield. And there's business like Out of Zone, Furniture for Less that I have spoken to, and they're all about partnering with the festival and anything that's related to the community here. There, this year we added scholarships that we're gonna be issuing, 10 of them, right? That's our minimum. And it's a $500 scholarship. We have that program, and they have a ways on how to students are gonna be able to get it. And it's provided by the business owners.
If I
Any
could,
questions or comments?
I could just add a couple of things. I mean, this is a long process. It started months ago. And when Fabiola and Victor kind of came up and approached me with the 2-day event, I had the same reservations and thinking, oh, it's gonna be a logistical nightmare. And what do we do with the stages overnight? The more you started thinking about it, the more we thought, let's switch it around. Let's look at the opportunities. And the opportunities for our business district to have a bunch of people there up until 5 p.m. on Saturday. And then it closes down until, well, the festival closes down until the next morning. But we have a bunch of people here that hopefully will stay here, stay at the hotels, stay at the RV park, stay wherever. And it's an opportunity for the businesses to provide coupons, incentives to have dinner downtown. We were talking about doing something at the Arts Center. We're talking about having activities that night, Saturday night, at Memorial Hall or wherever, to where we could actually have Greenfield night downtown and have as many people involved as possible so that we could keep entertaining the people that come to Greenfield for this festival, and they can continue it on Sunday. So there's a lot of opportunities, and Fabio and Victor are going out and meeting with the businesses to kind of inject that thought process. So we're doing it also for the business, and then don't forget that generates TOT for people who stay here, it generates sales tax for people who spend their money here. Some of that money comes back, and as the festival develops year over year, hopefully it gets bigger and bigger. And, you know, as Victor, he did say, you know, once he kind of got me hooked on the 2-day thing, he starts talking about, but they start on Thursday, they start on Wednesday, but doing certain events. So there's a lot to be done, but there's a lot of great things that come out of it as well.
If I can add about some of the evening time events or you know, weekend events that can happen is I've talked to the school district, to Superintendent Dr. Governor, as well as some of their staff at our community collaborative meetings where there's opportunities for the school bands. Some of the schools, I think they have rock bands and different kinds of just the school band itself. This could be an opportunity for them to also show off their music abilities for their families and the communities. So they're excited for that opportunity, and we're still trying to figure out how we can make it work with their school bands and trying to get together with them to collaborate on this awesome opportunity I just think that would be an awesome idea to have Greenfield Union School District, Oak Avenue Rock Band, you know, at the Harvest Festival as a performer. So just one of the ideas that we're talking to the school district about as well, to bring as much as possible to collaborate with them.
Only 5 months away, so got a lot of work to do.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move to J1 Proclamation, National Public Works Week, May 19th to the 25th. A proclamation of the City Council of the City of Greenfield proclaiming May 19th to the 25th, 2024 as National Public Works Week. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are vital importance to our sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health. high quality of life and well-being of the people of City of Greenfield. And whereas these infrastructure facilities and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of Public Works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and private sector who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children of the City of Greenfield to gain knowledge and maintain an ongoing interest and understanding of the importance of public works, and public works programs in their respective communities. And whereas the year 2024 marks the 64th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association, Canadian Public Works Association. Now therefore, the Mayor of City of Greenfield City Council hereby designates the week of May 19th to the 25th, 2024 as National Public Works Week. I urge all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies and activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting national health, safety, and advancing quality of life for all. You want to accept this on behalf of the?
Yes, I'll accept it on behalf of the City of Greenfield Public Works staff. Thank you, Mayor White and Council. I would like to dedicate this proclamation to all of the Public Works staff here at the City of Greenfield. As you know, they work tirelessly throughout the evenings, the weekends, and at any time when they're on call, they're away from their families quite a bit. And so I'd like to dedicate this to them. And next week is their week. We'll be having a Public Works Week barbecue with the 4 South County cities on Tuesday. Soledad is hosting it this year. It's going to be wonderful. Everybody can enjoy some barbecue and just kind of chat around with each other. You know, most people know each other from the 4 cities. So that's going to be nice. And I also might have a little surprise in for the staff that I haven't let anybody in on. So maybe they're watching. So I really appreciate them and their families, especially, you know, during the rainstorms and these events that we put on where they're gone away from their families more. And I want to recognize them for that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, J2, update from the Public Works Department.
Hello, Mayor White and council members again. Just one moment while I share my screen. All right, good evening. I am going to be giving a update on quite a few projects that are currently in construction, as well as projects that are in design or out to bid, to provide you and the public with an update. Current projects that are in construction, we're going to look at the Apple Avenue Consolidation Project, the City of Greenfield welcome signs, the wastewater treatment plant sludge dewatering temporary site improvements, the Tom Rogers Visitor Center, our traffic study, which is an impact fee update, 12th Street improvements, sidewalk grinding, downtown flags, and parks and playgrounds. And first, I want to talk about the Apple Avenue Consolidation Project that is currently in construction. That is on Apple Avenue and 13th Street. That's going to be providing safe drinking water to 2 different parcels with quite a few homes on them. We are currently in construction. The project was awarded in January of 2024 and construction commenced in March of 2024. And the project will be complete before the end of June of this year. And so what I just did was there wasn't a lot of activity going on today when I went out to get this photo, but you can see they've already installed all of the water main lines. They haven't connected them to our current main lines. They're going to be actually doing part of that tomorrow. So there'll be some shutdowns. It's been noticed, and we're going to get started on connecting that line up. They're also working on the inside of the properties, getting those water laterals to the meters. And so this project's going fairly smooth. Next, welcome to Greenfield Signs. Councilmember Ortiz, thank you for bringing that up. Some of this is difficult to see when you're driving down the road, and I commute that way every day. So I did want to show on the left, that's one of the actual signs at the sign shop. So they have been constructed. They have not been brought over yet. I had them put it up and take a picture because I wanted everybody to see that is being built offsite, and that is just about complete. And then the same as Councilmember Ortiz said, the foundation on the northbound side, which is south of town, isn't the easiest to see because it sort of blends in. But the foundation is complete. The rock skirting is on, as you can see, and it almost mimics our Greenfield potatoes, right? We'll never forget Greenfield potatoes. So they're going to be starting construction on the southbound section, which is by the basin. Here, I believe next week. I have the schedule here as well to show you. But I do just want to point out there's a lot going on there. You just can't always see it. So we're getting close. I know I keep saying that. So the updated schedule. So starting on May 22nd, which is next week, we're going to start excavating that southbound section, forming it up, getting the proper inspections, and then pouring the concrete within 3 days. That following week, they're going to start installing the signs. So they'll probably install the northbound sign first, and then the southbound sign second. So we're looking just after Memorial Day to have those signs up. Will the project be 100% complete at that time? No. You'll see that then on the southbound sign, then they'll put that rock skirting up after. There will also be solar lighting. We're waiting on submittals, trying to get through the county on the deferred submittals. So that might take a little bit of time to get the rest of the permitting for that. So we might not be able to see the signs at night right away. So I just wanted to make that clear that they may be up without the lighting in the interim. And I do want to remind everybody that these are one-sided signs. They were in the past, they were one-sided signs, and I just want to make sure everybody's aware that they are going to continue to be one-sided signs. Next project I'd like to discuss is our wastewater treatment plant sludge dewatering temporary site improvements and our sludge belt press startup. So the temporary site improvements were constructed to house the operation of our sludge dewatering press, which was actually delivered at the end of March. There was a laundry list of punch list items on that unit that needed to be completed before we could actually start up. So we had various meetings with the company that provided the belt press, and because they wanted to make just one big trip out here because they're from the Midwest. And so they were able to ship out all the parts that they needed to complete that punch list, and their technician came out and spent a day and a half doing the punch list items before we started training. So the sludge dewatering belt press, we actually held training just last week on May 8th and 9th. And so we had a maiden voyage. And it was very exciting. And staff will be running and monitoring the belt press over the next month, probably longer, to ensure proper functioning and polymer dosing. And I know you're all saying, we've heard about this belt press. What the heck is it? So I have some photos and I will explain what they are. Oops. So on the left, you can see that there's a trailer with an opening. So that actually holds the belt press. It's the entire unit inside. And then there's a screw conveyor that comes out the side and dumps into a dumpster. And when you look on the right-hand side, that's the actual belt press. Doesn't look very exciting and it looks strange. But what it is you'll see that triangular shaped cone piece at the bottom of the picture. And that's the sludge that's flocculating. And so what that's doing is it's taking this really fine, goopy primary sewage. And it's taking it, it's mixing with a polymer, and that is going to separate the solids from the liquids. So that's where it starts to do it right there. And then you can see it drops, wish I had a laser pointer, drops here onto a belt, conveyor belt, which is over lots of different rollers. There's water that goes onto that belt. It gets pressed. And by the time you get clear over here in the back, which I'll have some closer photos, it's a drier, cakier material. That drops into the screw conveyor and goes out to the dumpster. So this is what we want to keep out of our ponds. Okay. So over here on the left-hand side, this is that cone shape back here where that all starts, that process of flocculation. Goes through all these presses. And look at right here. I don't know if you can see it well on your tablet. But it's a lot drier. It's not a liquidy solid. The photo in the center is actually a close-up of that. And so that's just solid sludge. Normally it's always 100% brown. You see all this white inside of here? That's grease. That's grease. We're getting about 450 pounds of grease in our wastewater plant a day. It's a lot. So on that side note, Fats, Oils, and Grease program is in process. And so we're promoting not to put grease down the drain. So once it drops down into this screw conveyor here on the right, it just travels up and then comes down here and starts piling up. And then eventually we can take it to the landfill. Oops, sorry. Any questions or comments about that one? I know it's a little bit much to take in. I see some faces. They're going, change that.
If I could just add just a couple of things. So the importance of this is right now, we don't have a very effective way of taking this primary sewage and getting the water out of it, or the liquid part out of it, that we would process through the rest of the system. It would go through the clarifiers and all that, and then out to the ponds. So what we've got to do with this sludge is that's currently being shipped over to the landfill. Is it landfill?
No, we're actually currently hauling to Soledad's wastewater plant.
Okay, to their pipe, and then they do all this. Right, well, hauling water at 8 pounds per gallon is very, very expensive, but it's what we have to do in our attempt to get to a better level of cleanliness in our plant that the state that the regional is asking us to do. So this is a big step forward, getting all that water out. We still have the cake that's left over, and then that will be taken and disposed of properly, but it'll be a lot less expensive and a lot less.
It really is interesting to go out there. I mean, considering what everything I never wanted to know about waste.
Or you didn't want to know.
I learned, but it really is a good field trip to go and learn about it.
Yeah, and it's going to take us a little bit of time to adjust to this process and adjust the polymers. So we likely are going to be staffing this unit every day with one person that pulls them off of other duties. But it's a necessity and it needs to be done. And it's a very simple process, but it's a little daunting when you just go out and look at it and go, whoa, look at this machine. But it's quite amazing. Yeah, so we're very excited about this. A little update on the Tom Rogers Visitor Center. We did get an updated construction schedule with all of the changes that were approved. They're going to start site preparation and layout on June 4th and 5th. Then they're going to prepare the footing from June 6th to 24th. That includes the pouring of the concrete and inspection. And then between June 24th and 28th will be the actual building installation on top of the foundation. And the 15th, sorry, I have a typo in there. July 15th through 19th a complete accessory component. So making sure everything's up to par and where it needs to be. And so we're getting closer on that as well. Traffic impact fee study. This is something that has been in our capital program, and I moved forward to this fiscal year. And so we do have a final draft that was completed. We did recently review in a meeting with the city manager and senior staff this month. And we just have some additional comments that we want to address. And then we're going to plan on having a joint planning commission and city council workshop, which will be a public meeting possibly in June of 2024. And then we would go separately to a planning commission since it's impact fees. We would like to take that to planning commission for approval and then come back to city council for approval. Any questions on the traffic study? Okay. 12th Street improvement project. So there was a delay in the construction project due to the discovery of shallow utilities, including a gas main and water main. There was some redesign and approval for extra work that has since been approved. The contractor was back on site yesterday. What they're doing is laying everything out with the adjusted plans, obtaining the parts, and then they'll be back out. This delay has the project completion scheduled for the end of June 2024. Do you want to know PG&E has been very cooperative on their end on their redesign of their gas main relocation. We are awaiting scheduling of the relocation. It's actually in that queue, but now they have a lot of checks and balances they have to go through before they can actually get into the field and do that relocation. We do have one property owner that has not signed the right of entry agreement, which will affect construction progress. And so we are working with that. We're going to be meeting with that property owner this week. And then an update of the schedule had also been placed on the Public Works Facebook page as soon as I got that update schedule. So I got that out. And I also placed a copy here below of the water main relocation. We have an anticipated date for PG&E gas main relocation, but that's not solid. It's a placeholder where we're hoping that they can get in there by the end of May. And then in beginning of June, the subgrade and the concrete sidewalk would continue, and then the asphalt work and the striping could all be complete at the end of June. I'm going to jump back up a couple of photos just to see that one key component of the entire project is the crossing on Elm Street to the school, and that ADA ramp was completed quite a while ago. And then we have done some sidewalk and curb and gutter on the project. And then these other utilities became the issue. So the contractor is holding to this schedule. If PG&E is not able to get in there, then we're going to have to visit what we're going to do in the meantime and talk to PG&E about it. And they've been very, very open, very, okay, yeah, that's a temporary for us, so we can work with this. I've been very impressed with how they've been working with us.
Quick question. Will that affect gas service to any part of the remainder of the city, or will it just be focused to that local area?
It's a localized area. It's not a large piece. It's not the whole street section of gas main. It's really where the crown of the road was. And so they just need to move it. Oh, they're going to jog it over, but drop it.
Right, but what I'm saying is will they have to shut off gas to any significant portion of the city to do that?
No, it would be localized to a few residences and possibly the school. But they would be doing that when there's nobody in session.
I was going to suggest you might, if you're going to send these out and it's for the public, maybe put like a little disclaimer about the dates, because this community is really holding you to the dates that are posted on here. And there are some things, they happen unforeseen, and things happen.
Yes, hence
But
why.
they don't understand that.
Yeah, that's why on the gas main relocation I put anticipated.
Yeah.
Because that one's not guaranteed. Mhm. But the contractor has said that they can hold those dates. There would be this one section that we would have to figure out what to do. If PG&E doesn't make it, because it's not fair to the city or the residents to hold even longer to wait for PG&E. And I am waiting on a response from PG&E. Mhm. Sidewalk grinding. So every year, our self-insurance provides $10,000 worth of sidewalk grinding for the city. And this fiscal year, we're working on the ADA compliance grinding activities. The city is going to increase that work to include up to another $5,000. That's what we did last fiscal year. The area of work will primarily be on Oak Avenue from ECR to 12th Street. And we actually issued a PO yesterday, I believe it was. And so we're looking for the schedule to come from the contractor, which they should be able to start anytime according to them. So we should see some movement on that here pretty quick.
I got a text message probably about an hour ago and, it said if you could look at 131 8th Street, next to the property on 131 8th Street, you can see the sidewalk is lifted like this. It's really bad. But they just sent that.
I wrote that down.
That's what I was gonna ask. Thank you for bringing that up, Councilmember Ortiz. I know that in the past, we kind of did give you a few locations, one of them being in Oak, where a lot of people have had accidents, really bad accidents, especially our seniors. But also, how can you work with the public to really get that input from the community that live in Greenfield? Like, hey, this is it's not a 12-month project. We need it ASAP because people are tripping. It's very commuted. So how can you really make sure that the sidewalk grinding that you do really goes to those sidewalks that really need it, very urgent?
So we actually have a study that was completed that is over all the city sidewalks on the different first priority, second priority for grinding, for replacement. It basically addresses everything. The grinding is something that we have been doing. It's less expensive. We're working on getting staff trained to finish concrete. That's one of the fallbacks is we don't have staff that knows how to finish concrete, so we could do some of this work in-house. So we're working on that because we do have a program where a resident can apply and I think pay a very small fee, and we're supposed to do the work, and it says, you know, the sidewalk replacement when time allows, which we haven't, number one, had the staff, but we're still getting staffed up now, and we're going to be working on training. So we're looking at, for one of the areas, hiring a contractor to do so, but have our staff on site and to work with that contractor to show them how to finish the concrete.
So, but with your part of the study, do you really get the input from the public? That's what I was kind of referring to. Like, I know that there's studies, I know there's professional, there's contractors, whatnot, but we really need to get the public's input because a lot of us, like we've all mentioned, we've been getting a lot of heat from the public because we do address these issues. And I know people are tired of hearing that there's a very slow walking process when it comes to government, and sadly there is, but at least reassure the public. And what a better way from not just giving these presentations, but actually having the public here take that input, take that survey, saying these are the streets that really need the support. It's not so much what an outsider, a contractor comes and suggests, but really focusing, making the community's input part of that study. That's kind of where I'm guided towards more.
Yeah, and I hear exactly what you're saying. So the background on that study is there are different heights, right? Quarter inch, half inch, 3/4 inch, anything over that, there's different criteria that's graded by law. So it is not an opinion, it's actually just fact. And so that's where we were able to go through, and this was quite a few years ago, go through and determine throughout the city okay, this piece right here, what's going on here? Okay, that's what this is. So then it gets all prioritized. So while there's priorities, we're not always able to get to the top priorities because we don't have that, either the money to do so or the staff that's probably trained, which we're working on. One of the things that I am going to be working on and I know I'd mentioned this to Paul a few months ago, is kind of like a Did You Know series. on Facebook for a lot of things. Because there's so many things that residents don't know. I know if I didn't work in government, I would know a lot of these things. But there's, twofold. It's not necessarily does the city have to do everything. Property owners can also do things to improve that. And so, there's just a lot of different caveats that can go forward through that. So we are working on that. Doesn't mean that the public's perception or opinion doesn't matter. Doesn't mean that one thing is really a higher priority over another. This year we did take guidance from council to do Oak Street. And so that's where we focused our contractor on to go through that program and to determine how far he can get with that $10,000. There's also 3 options. Do you want to go with the 1/4 inch, the 1/2 inch, the 3/4 inch and above? And it's all laid out on a program where I could see all of them. I could see, okay, the 1/2 inch would also include the 1/4 inch. The 3/4 inch program would include both below that. So we went right in the middle, the 1/2 inch, and then said, we're going to pay a little extra. It was about double to go to the 3/4, and we didn't have that in the budget. So we are trying to get as much done wherever we can and also train our staff so we can do a lot more in-house.
I'll tell you one thing, people are listening to this conversation because I got 4 text messages giving me different streets. So I'm gonna forward those to you.
Thank you to whoever's texting and, report things. We can't always get to everything at once because we are only so big. But it's critical that, if you have a legitimate concern, please call it in. We encourage that actually.
I think it's really important for the community to know that, we are listening. I know that a lot of times they don't think we're listening or we're not addressing them. Their concerns or things that need to be fixed around town. I know I just sent a list that you got, from phone calls that I got, and I just jot them all down and then I'll send it off at one time. And a lot of the things that you're talking about are things that I had sent in the email. So, to the community, we are listening, we do forward it, but things do take time.
And it does. I mean, do we all want to go out and do it all at once? That'd be fabulous. I would love to do that. Unfortunately, we can't do that. Most cities can't do that. It has to be in a program. So that's where we're starting to do all these things since I've been here. Some had been happening before my time, but we're really trying to get these into the preventative maintenance programs, rehabilitation programs, so that we get in this good routine and we can have better streets, better sidewalks, better parks, all of these things. But it does take time.
I have a question. You mentioned the study, was done maybe several years ago. So in terms of like these new complaints, right, that we're hearing about that are coming up now, if that's not part of this study that is kind of guiding what you're fixing, then how do those get addressed? How do they make it into the priority list?
Right. And that's things that we can compile and compare and analyze between them all. With this particular program, with the self-insurance funds, it's not economically feasible to go from here to here, and jump kind of all around. Say we had 20 different residents give different locations that were priority to them. It's not financially feasible. We're not getting the most bang for the buck. And I know that sounds so generic, and I apologize, but we're really trying to get as much of it done at once that we can. And so that's where that comes in at. But that doesn't mean that, we aren't watching them to learn how they're doing it, so that we can start working that into our program.
One of the things that I had sent in the email was, but I don't know anything about this, but I was told that plant strip, is that what it's called? Plant strip?
Parks, we call it a park strip.
A park strip? Oh, so but people shouldn't be planting in there?
So are you referring to maybe the older part of town where there's dirt between the curb and the sidewalk?
Yeah, but they're like palm trees and putting trees, and that's really is gonna tear up the sidewalk.
Yeah, so you have to start looking at the municipal code, because it's not that we don't want it planted, it needs to be planted properly, but also that would be the property owner's responsibility to maintain. There is a law, it's Highways and Maintenance Code 5610. That the gist of that is that unless otherwise adopted by a city, then the city would follow the state code, which is that the property owner is responsible for maintenance all the way to the drivable roadway. So even though there's public right of way, they would be really responsible all the way to the edge of the gutter. Do we enforce that? No, we don't. And I don't know if Ms. Thompson wants to elaborate on the code at all, but I just kind of gave the briefing. You know, we're not sending out letters saying, you know, take this down, do this. You know, we're trying to do what we can to help keep those maintained. But if there is a tree, say somebody planted a palm tree, now somebody's complaining about it, it's not necessarily the city's tree. So that's where that, yeah, there's like this little crossover area.
Well, right, because we also have the LLMPs where the city is responsible for
Mhm.
maintaining those
Mhm.
areas.
Right.
It's only part of kind
Mhm. Yeah.
If I plant a palm, sell my house, I'm a new owner. Had nothing to do with planting that palm, and you know, so yeah, it gets complicated, can get complicated if we don't enforce things.
It can, yeah. I mean, it can even get really complicated if you're, say you're on a corner lot and somebody plants it right next to the ADA ramp. Well, you can't see. But there's sight distances when things grow. So those do become issues. Mhm.
Where do you have more on?
Oh, no, there's more. We're still in the construction part, sorry. Downtown flags update. So the high school will be providing graduate flags to hang near the end of the month. And then we also have a variety of Americana style flags that we have on hand that we'll be hanging after we take the graduate flags down so that they'll cover for Memorial Day, 4th of July and Labor Day. So we do have those. We have ordered those and they're here. And citywide playgrounds, I wanted to give just kind of an update on some research that I was able to do. Oops. Okay, I got 2 slides that interchange, sorry. So citywide playgrounds, playground accessibility. So actually went through a lot of documents and was able to find documentation that ADA upgrades were installed at all city parks in 2016. The upgrade consisted of walkways from the city sidewalks to accessible ramps into the playground areas at all city parks. And that there are actually 2 accessible swings at Community Park, which is Rosas Park, otherwise known as Rosas Park. So I included a photo in case anybody wasn't sure that those were there. I did want to point out we do have ADA swings at that park. And then Patriot Park ADA upgrades and accessibility has been proposed in the initial Public Works Capital Improvement Program for fiscal year 24-25.
Again, sorry, with this, and sorry, I'm always bringing in the community, but who knows best than the folks that need that support? So I would say like, try to meet also with community members like La Organización Mariposa, that is a group of Greenfield parents with children with special needs, because yes, according to what you're saying here, and I do see the picture, and we know that there's equipment, at least in that part. But when you talk about the that pathway being accessible, we have darn wood chips.
Yeah.
So how could you tell a mom that has a child in a wheelchair, you do have access to that swing, when we're clearly seeing that the darn wood chips are not going to let that wheelchair go through.
Right.
So I think that's where the frustration comes. I think all of us that we really want to make sure that it's accessible, not say it's accessible when we clearly see in this picture it's not, that parent is going to have to carry that child to the swing because of the darn wood chips. So I think that's, again, when we see the bigger picture, and I think all of us have done it in any parts of our lives, we think this is a good idea, but until we have somebody kind of stop us and say, well, it's good for you, but it's not good for me because of whatever needs or whatever the scenario might be. So I'm just saying to be a little bit more considerate with our community and really get that input from all the parents that have that child, because like, if I was a parent of a child with special needs, I would tell you that is not accessible to me with the darn wood chips. I wouldn't be able to take my child to that swing.
Well, and the point of me bringing this as an update was to let you know that in 2016, that was considered accessible when we did the project. So codes change, correct? So at that time, that's why we say it's a current. We say current because it was done at the time with those codes and standards. But that's not what we would do today. We know that. So the focus is on Patriot Park. But we did just want to make sure everybody knew that in 2016 upgrades were done. So it's not discounting at all what you're saying, Councilwoman Martinez. It's completely agreed. But I do want to make sure that everybody knows that at the time it was done, it was considered ADA compliant. And so, but we do have them, but yeah, the darn wood chips, try to push a wheelchair through that. It's like trying to push a wheelchair on the beach. It doesn't work. So not discounting anything you're saying, I completely agree. But I just want to make sure everybody knows that when it was done, it was to the ADA code. Okay. And now we're going to talk about upcoming projects that are in design or in public bid status. So our wastewater treatment plant design is at 60% design. Our year 3 pavement maintenance project is 95% design. Walnut Avenue sidewalk is like 99%. Request for bid for a portable generator for the fire station. Bids were due today. Request for bid for 2 sewer trucks. Trucks for the sewer division. Bids are due next week. And the new community center RFP for design services proposals are due May 30th. So our wastewater treatment plant design, as you all know, design commenced in November 2022. We had a pre-procurement of the MBR system award in this past February. 60% design completion, it was given to us the end of last week. And so we are in the 60% design review. The environmental comment period closed yesterday. Final plan specs and engineer's estimate will be completed November 2024. Finalize the water board funding application and, funding, not finding agreement. If funding is given to us is July 2025. And we're anticipating to award the construction contract in November 2025 and have substantial completion. Wastewater treatment plant startup, general order compliance, May of 2028. That is the perfect world. So I know you're all looking at that saying, finalize water board funding application. So we are still going through those motions. Yes.
If you could, so the CEQA comment period closed yesterday.
Yesterday.
Did we get any comments, and can you just talk a little bit?
So we did get 2 comments. One was from the water board stating that this project would qualify for state revolving funding. Here's the application. The other one was from the Board of Toxic. Can't remember their name, I'm sorry. And there's just some mitigation measures that they want to make sure we take that'll be put into the final document. But it was actually a lot less comments than we anticipated. So we were very happy about that. We thought we'd hear from other state agencies, and we did not. So that's good news. It was a good environmental document. Pavement maintenance project for year 3. Design of the project is at 95%. All the base roadway treatments have been determined. We did remove a few streets from the year 3 project and replace them with alternates. And that was due to a couple of the streets being on the priority list for water main replacement. So we didn't want to refurnish a street and then go tear it up and put in a water line. So those are programmed in for another year. I'm currently on the 2nd round of review plans and specs. We'll have those out this week and anticipate having the project out to bid the end of May or the very beginning of June. I did place a list of streets just because the graphic is a little bit difficult to see with the different items. But you see mostly over here in this area that wasn't done previously in some of the older town. And then over here off of Reed, there'll be a little bit done over here. And so it's a good comprehensive project.
You did mention Oak Avenue when you were talking about the grinding. Are we be doing anything on the street on Oak Avenue?
No, not in this project. We're going to be taking care of the remainder of 12th Street. It was already programmed in for the 3rd year. yeah, the arterials will come at another time.
Question on this one, because we seem to get a lot of comments about the streets and like streets that were already repaired and now they have potholes and just concerns over like the quality of the repairs.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering if you have a tracking system for those to, you know, to actually be able to go back and what as a city, like whatever was already paid for to get repaired,
Mhm.
what's happening now every time they have to continue to be repaired? Because I don't know that it's
Mhm.
true, so I won't state it as fact, you know, that something was fixed and now it needs to get fixed again. But that's what the residents are saying, at least on, when they're voicing their concerns.
So typically, depending on the treatment that's placed on the roadway, for pavement longevity, it could be a 5-year or it could be a 10-year or a 15-year life. It really depends on, what that treatment is. And we did use various treatments on, the year 1 and year 2 street rehabilitation project. I know one of the concerns that I was hearing during the project from the residents was that the road was sinking. But a lot of that had to do with the drainage. You know, because you're driving across and, you know, you kind of feel like it's humping, but it's actually because of the cross drainage, even though there's not a cross gutter. There are some areas that, yes, there's trees lifted up. We tried to catch all those with dig outs. But then there's something that lifts up and then there's a depression. So it might feel like, oh, you know, the street's falling apart, but it doesn't necessarily mean so if we've done the dig out. There are extenuating circumstances. There could be a water leak or a sewer leak that we can't see, and that could actually pull the street section down. Eventually, while we're doing these preventative treatments, we'll eventually have to do complete remove and replacements in time. You know, those are going to be a lot smaller projects, not so vast. So you try to get as much life as you can out of the streets that you have, and then plan in the future for which ones you're going to do the R&R on, the replacement we have.
So at the
Mhm.
very least, though, all the ones that were repaired should last 5 years without the extenuating circumstance.
Right. And that's all dependent on, you know, say somebody's out there and a big tool falls off their truck and just, you know, jags it up. Those are considered extenuating circumstances where it's not normal wear and tear. But if there's anything that's happening, the residents, please call it in and let us know so we can take a look at it. You know, I'm not out driving the roads every day. So, you know, we do depend on residents to let us know what's going on. Yeah, so if there's any specific locations, we'd be happy to go look at them and see what's going on.
Have we considered doing something similar to what Supervisor Lopez's office does with the reporting of like street issues and potholes through an app?
I don't know that if we have that capable. I'm looking at Paul. I'm not sure.
Paul is not looking at either of us.
I don't think we have an app for that.
No,
Can you talk to Monica? or-
yeah, so I can talk to them. Yeah, I know even like the city of Salinas has, you know, Salinas Connect, things like that where you can go on and report and then get updates.
And in the meantime, before we invest in something like that,
Mhm.
maybe we can do some postings related to,
Mhm.
here's an email address, send a
Mhm.
picture, send a
Mhm.
location,
Mhm.
and keep a track of it. So here's.
Yeah, or I mean, even like a Google form, you know, where
Mhm.
there's a link to like report here
Mhm.
and it's just going into a Google form with, you know, where and if you want to attach a photo, whatever, but I mean, even starting with something like that, just because if we truly do want to hear from the residents and what is affecting their area,
Mhm.
then we can make it that easy without investing any money or anything.
Well, yeah, and so currently,
Form.
majority of people call the front desk and the customer service assistants actually fill out a form and send it off
Mhm.
to whichever department it's regarding. And so that's been the current process. I don't have access to what Chief Mixer was talking about. So I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah, and if we can make it available in English and
Mhm.
Spanish.
Ed can walk
We
you
can look
through
at, and talk to Ed about that, see
Um,
what the capabilities are.
one suggestion that, I've seen a couple city seminars is to just set up a separate email for that particular item. It's
Mhm.
potholes, you know. City.com, something like that. and Just have somebody monitoring
Mhm.
that. So the easy.
Yeah, and we actually have a Public Works email. It's publicworks@ci.greenfield.ca.us where it goes to multiple people. So I'd even encourage people to utilize that. If they want to send anything in. All right, on to the next one. Walnut Avenue Street Improvements. This is to put the temporary sidewalk in basically from Burger King over the highway to the farm worker housing. With some ADA upgrades on the Caltrans bridge. 100% plans complete. Listen to that. We were able to get the Caltrans encroachment permit issued. And we're just finalizing the specifications. They're at 95%. So then that package will come back to me for review. And we should be going out to bid for this project in the beginning of June. We've been waiting for this one too.
One thing I've noticed is that, I don't know if any of you have noticed that our Greenfield residents sadly have adopted to walking down that path with such a good balance, even with the horrible wind. And last time I was laughing, shame on me. We had tourists that literally left their Teslas and they were walking down that path, and you see both opposite ends, our H2A workers and other community residents, and then the tourists on one side. The tourist was wobbling about to fall, and our residents were just that balance. I was like, well, at least something came out of that. So I was just like, I have to share that. I don't know if you guys seen it, but I was proud of our Greenfield residents.
I have. I don't want to be that person because I'm sure I would. But yeah, I mean, I think it's because they're accustomed to traversing that. So I can, when this project's built, they're gonna be so happy. They're gonna be like, well, we miss our hike. But this is exciting because I know we've been waiting on this one a while as well. Portable generator for the fire station. The council approved the funds a little bit ago. Request for bids. We issued the bid on April 23rd. The requests for bids were due May 14th. I think I said yesterday, I meant today. We will be notifying the low bidder of intent to purchase on May 22nd or by May 22nd, and we will see you at next council meeting for approval of the contract to purchase the equipment. The two new sewer division trucks, requests for bids went out on May 7th. They're due on the 21st. We are planning on notifying the low bidder of intent to purchase on May 24th and take to city council for approval of the purchase on June 11th. And that is the funding that was moved over last time. And the new community center, I saved the best for last because it's exciting. We did put out a request for proposals for design services. Oh, I apologize. I got some. I think I have the wrong information in there. I apologize. Don't read that. So the bids are due on May 30th. So we're having scoping meetings with any architectural and design firms, 30 minutes apiece for them to ask questions. And we've had over 200 downloads of the bid package. So it's a real hot item. So we're excited to see what kind of proposals we do receive. And I apologize, I must have accidentally hit Control V. Put the other one in there. And so that's exciting. So we're moving forward with that as well. And that concludes my update presentation.
Any comments or questions? Could you be sure and send us this slide deck?
Yes. Yes. Would anybody like printed and emailed copies or just emailed copies?
Email's fine. Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll do proclamation, Building Safety Month. Proclamation of the City of Greenfield claiming Building Safety Month, May 2024. Whereas our city is committed to recognizing that our growth and strength depends on the safety and essential role of homes, buildings, and infrastructure play, both in everyday life and when disaster strikes. And whereas our confidence in the resilience These buildings that make up our community is achieved through the devotion and vigilant guardians, building safety and fire prevention officials, building inspectors, permit technicians, architects, engineers, builders, tradespeople, design professionals, laborers, plumbers, and other building professionals who work year-round to ensure the safety construction of our building. And whereas these guardians are dedicated to members of the Internal National Code Council, a nonprofit that brings together local, state, territorial, tribal, and federal officials who are experts in the built environment to create, implement the highest quality codes to protect us from the buildings where we live, worship, learn, work, and play. And whereas these modern building codes include safeguards to protect the public from hazards such as hurricanes, snowstorms, tornadoes, wildland fires, floods, and earthquakes. And whereas Building Safety Month is sponsored by the International Code Council to remind the public about the critical role of communities largely unknown protectors of the public safety, our local code officials, who assure us safe, sustainable, and affordable buildings that are essential to our prosperity. And whereas mission possible, the theme of Building Safety Month 2024 encourages all to raise awareness about building safety on a personal, local, and global scale. And whereas each year in observance of Building Safety Month, the people all over the world are asked to consider the commitment to improve building safety, resilience, and economic investment at home and in the community, and to acknowledge the essential services provided to all of us by our local state building departments, fire prevention bureaus, and federal agencies for protecting lives and property. Now, therefore, I, Robert White, Mayor of City of Greenfield, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2024 as Building Safety Month. Accordingly, I encourage our citizens to join us as we participate in Building Safety Month activities. There you go.
So I'm receiving it on behalf of the Community Development Department, the Planning and Building Division. We work really hard every day to try and answer a lot of inquiries. My email, mostly on the inspections email, they get blasted every day with a bunch of submittals. So our community is growing, and we work very hard to make that happen. There's a lot that happens behind the project, from going through planning commission, going through the planning department, going through the building reviews, inspections, building permits, stuff like that. We're there through every part of it. So there's a lot that happens behind the doors. But we're excited, and the community keeps growing, and we'll, hopefully to have any new development that comes to town to join us, and we'll work with them to, keep the city of the Greenfield growing every day. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, thank you very much. All right, presentation code enforcement.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. This is the high level review from our community service officers. We also presented this presentation to the Plan Commission last week. Had a lot of questions, and hopefully we had some decent answers. So currently we have 3 community service officers. Rafael Guzman, who's in the police academy right now. Congratulations to him. And Nancy Colette is off on medical leave right now, so we have 2 working. That's been that way for the last month. We've had 11 applicants. The CSO position we have advertised, so I'm looking to fill the position, and hopefully we get Nancy back here pretty quick. So as a lot of CSOs and also on uniform personnel, they do a variety of tasks. They're not on, they do care about a human, and we changed the uniform to distinguish it from the officers. Focus, obviously, respond to life issues, parking, that's another one we call. And also assist with low priority calls if the officers are tied up and they're available to handle. So obviously parking, that's our biggest one. Enforcement, people parking and parking sidewalks, ADA ramps, driveways. It's a nonstop issue in Greenfield. We also regulate the peddlers and solicitors. We are limited to what we can have in team right now. Now, there is a waiting list for more. So they just ensure that they have the licenses necessary from the health department and from the city. We also help us quite a bit with the homeless and cannabis. Obviously, we want to be as caring and sensitive to their needs, but sometimes there are health and safety concerns, and we do have to take some action. And we do the tip of the spear on a lot of the cleanups. Obviously, lots of ways, get lots of services are offered, transportation, vouchers, meals. We do as much as we can to try and help the unhoused. And of course, ensuring with businesses doing violations and maintaining the properties. These are two examples of flyers that they hand out. One's the municipal code violations, suggestions, just the different violations and what they are and how we can mitigate them, what the fees will be if they are cited. Now, shifting gears, so cost for service. Honestly, the police department, we handled 16,000 calls last year, over 16,000. Year before that, 14,000. That's a lot of calls for service. Year to date, looks like we're going to surpass last year's. This is the beginning of the first quarter. And this is a breakdown by year, 22, 23, and year to date. And we can see that a quarter of the calls go to code enforcement and animal control. So those are the community service officers. So that is a whole lot of calls from the public to handle some sort of dispute, disruption, parking issue, animal control. So last year, 2023, we're over 4,000 calls per service. So I'm sure but it's picking up speed here as it's getting a little bit warmer. There's a little more activity. Now this next set of slides are going to be from 2022. The next slide is going to be 23 and then year to date. But these are the top 3 calls that we get. Obviously, abandoned vehicles, municipal code violations, and some of the parking problem. Also, if you notice, officers handle all of those calls because the code enforcement officers are here for limited time. They're here from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. 7 days a week. They have adjusted their schedule as needed for certain events, but for the most part, an important thing to know is that the officers will handle any call that's made. So this is for 2022, 2023. Same top 3 issues, and year to date, same issues. So what the top problems are, and the officers do assist quite a bit. This is the workflow. Obviously, we want to give as many meetings as possible. To give people opportunity to comply. We'll be very generous for not issuing citations. We understand our community. So we want to be very careful with how many citations we will issue. We have plenty of warning. But we do have over couple fingers and we're cycling toward vehicles. And there's multiple violations, multiple administrative fees and fines. So parking citations. So last year, we have 238 parking citations. That's quite a few of the officers at 78. This year, we're getting a lot. So we have working versus 4 that we had last year. But the officers have actually stepped up quite a bit because they're just a little bit over half of what they did last year. This is the first quarter, so the officers know that we're down parking citations, so they're picking up the slack for this code enforcement officers. Vehicle tools, last year 119 vehicle tools. No, we give every opportunity, please move the car, move the car, and sometimes there's like that, maybe they're a little combative, and a little aggressive, and sometimes we just make a decision. But obviously that's not our first, the way we want to do it. Send to our tags, the issue of not sending to our tags. Again, this year we're a little bit manpower. Registration citations. These are very expensive, a little bit more expensive than the parking citations, so we're very cautious when we give these out. It's like here shortly, but it's $100 for the first citation. I'll to your fifth citation, so you go up by $100 each time. So that's a pretty big hit for community members. So we're very judicious when issuing the administrative citations. Here's that slide I just mentioned. You can see the work each time goes up by $100. So animal control, we get a lot of calls for stuff because there's some real. 2022, last year to 730 this year, we're going to probably beat that. So it keeps us busy. So we take a lot to the shelter in Salinas, the Hitchcock Animal Services. We want to listen to that's the best thing. We want to be family with a pet, they're family member. But we have to, we'll take them to Salinas at a cost to us, obviously. That's not what we want to do. We'd rather take them, have the people, the residents come pick up their animals. Control. But we'll keep them on 2 or 3 days. If the owner contacts us, we're on vacation, we need the what have you. We also live for longer. But the worst thing we want to do is take it to Salinas because that's an inconvenience for the resident. Has to travel 40 miles to Hitchcock Road and back, 80 miles round trip. And it's also a time consumption for officers. It's going to take at least 2.5 hours to make that trip to Hitchcock Road and back. They need to clean out the animal control vehicle because usually there's general feces or something that happens. In addition to that, with the animals that we've already taken, we do have, there's, they need to be locked, they need to be fed, they need to get out of the kennels every 7 hours, the kennels need to be cleaned. So it takes time to do that, which obviously takes time away from the other obligations that we have throughout the city. And here's how you can get a university. So it was at cnn.greenfield.ca.us. That is the best way you can send pictures, information. You can read this. That is a great way to get hold of them. The idea is that the city council is going to the messages. We can share this with our residents and just hand report directly, take a picture, you're walking in, you see something. Add the sergeants. So add sergeants at CI. Greenfield.us, and the sergeants are sitting here 24 hours a day. So even if the CSO will give the sergeants, make sure the officers will take care of this issue, whatever it is. Questions?
I don't have a question. I have more like a comment. Sorry, Mayor. Rafa, I'm excited. I didn't know he was at the police academy. He's amazing at Greenfield product, like Dr. Galvan likes to mention. So I'm excited for him. He's gonna do awesome. Hopefully we'll keep him for many, many years. Don't let him go. But I really wanna salute the code enforcement officers, Chief, because you know that they take a lot of heat. They're usually like the first responders in the area when it comes to like any complaints, especially during festivities and whatnot, and they take a lot of heat. But since when I came to office back in 2016 till now, there has been a huge shift with code enforcement. They're really people person now, and that's exactly the position that we need that to be able to have that community interaction. So Nancy, she's obviously in medical leave and she's an animal lover. So I really do trust that I'm not a pet owner, but if my dog ever goes missing or my cat, Nancy would be the perfect person because she does care about, hey, how are we making sure that they're comfortable back here? And how do we make sure that we reunite them with the family? And then just Stella and Fatima, the smiles. I mean, they're driving up and down Greenfield. They're walking. You see them at events. They don't have this face of, don't talk to me. They're always so welcoming and smiling. And that's what I wish on every department. Not throwing anybody under the bus. City manager would, but Stella and Fatima, they're just, you see them and they make you smile. So that's exactly what code enforcement should look like, our officers. So kudos to you, because I know that you have a lot to do with them, and them especially being so young. You wouldn't believe that they're that young just because of the way they act. They're so professional. So I just really wanted to make sure that I highlight that.
Thank you.
Any comment, questions?
Always. Actually, first is I want to commend you on this. This is a great program. I'm glad we finally got it implemented. It helps with the code enforcement. It also helps with the animal control. I've gotten lots of comments, positive comments about having the 7-day-a-week community service officers, especially since so many of our residents do work odd hours and they're able to have somebody come out on the weekends to address their issues. One question and one comment. First off, on your community service officer slide, you've got dial 1, then 2, then 2. It's actually 1, then 4, then 2 for Greenfield. So, because I just called it the other day. So
Gotcha.
the other, and the question is you mentioned, right? Yeah, right there.
Right.
It's 1 for English, then it's 4 for Greenfield, not 2.
Correct. Thank you.
The question is you mentioned back there, there's self-observation versus community reported. Do we have a breakdown on how many are each for self-observation by the CSOs versus community reported?
No, because dispatch does not break it down that way. We get our stats from dispatch and then it's the county communication center.
Okay. Because one of the concerns that I've had mentioned to me repeatedly is they will see, and it's not just the CSOs, they'll see the PD drive right by something that's obviously happening and the PD won't do anything about it. So that was the question is that's why I'd like to see if there's any way to get a report. Maybe you start a flag on the reporting software that says self-initiated versus community reported. So you can kind of figure out how visible and how much they're actually looking at what's going on in the street, as opposed to just responding to what they've been given.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a good metric, and they do a daily log every day. So the log for today, it tags 7 vehicles cited, the Hitchcock Road, but yeah, so. About the clip thing, that's what they did most of the work because they got their calls there. But no, that's a good suggestion if we see what was self-initiated versus what was called into dispatch.
Absolutely. I definitely like to see what happens out of that. Like I said, great work. Actually, I do have one other quick comment or a question is, do we imagine that part of why we're seeing a reduction in animal control calls is the education that we're doing? Our partnership with SNP and with our neighborhood pet project, is that starting to show results?
Oh, yes. We directed people to our neighborhood pet project. And then we'll think of speed. So the cost for us taking the animals to Salinas to Hitchcock Road is huge and it's only going to go up.
And that was actually something that Maria actually asked me to ask you is how much does it cost the city on average overall to take an animal to Hitchcock?
Right now it's $240 per animal.
Plus time and maintenance and fuel and supplies and everything else.
It's going to go up by, I think, 60% for next year.
We're talking another almost $40.
Correct. So obviously, keep the animals here, give them chipped, and we have the scanners. You know, we try and find the owners as soon as possible, but you know, it's a never-ending thing. You know, we want to make sure that residents make sure the pets take care of them. We can get a hold of them. We want them back to give them back. very few times we try and send them on the site for the loose animal. Sometimes we will if they're aggressive or and especially obnoxious.
I understand that. Thank you.
I have a couple of questions. Is there any way that you can post those logs on your Facebook page?
We can. We haven't. Maybe we've been a little reserved with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why we can't or create a link
If
within the
you
city
have the
website.
Addresses, but at least, you know, kind of a little breakdown of what's going on. Problem is that, you know, we're looking through all of this, I see that code enforcement is doing a lot.
Yes.
They have a lot of hats. And the community, I think, thinks they're just driving around giving tickets off cars. That's their only job, but they have a lot of jobs. So I think it's important that they see that something is happening and it's happening on a daily basis. Another thing too, the hours, what time do they start?
Starting
They start at 7 a.m.
at 7 and end at 5.
and they end at 5?
Correct.
Okay, 7 a.m. is good. The problem with 5 o'clock is a lot of the violations don't even start until afterwards. That's when you get to see really, you know, the overcrowding and people parking on their driveways and whatnot, you know, maybe, I don't know, maybe look into something like that. I hate to have somebody who's not armed out when it starts.
Absolutely. But because of some issues that were brought up earlier with some commercial vehicles that are parked after hours, one of our community service officers is going to come in at a later time. So we're going to kind of stretch that, make sure the officers are aware, make sure they know where she's at, where she's working in case anything happens. But we're going to modify that schedule so we can try and catch more of the parking problems and commercial vehicle problems that are parked in residential areas.
A lot of the big trucks, they come down, you can hear them on, from where I live at, I can hear them on 12th Street.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like about 2 blocks away, and I can hear the big trucks coming in, and it's like, oh my gosh, you know. It's, and then you see them parked there all in the nighttime, they all line up and everything, so how sometimes they come in, if you catch them at a late at night, you'll see them going through town. You'll see them going through town, and so, like, you know, they don't go out the back way, they don't go down 12th and then all the way around. They cut straight through town.
All right, come on down.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
If I could just ask one quick question, you have a slide related to animal control of the number of animals that you're taking to the county, and then right next to it, return to, and I think we all want it released to the owner. Do you have an idea, is there a prevailing reason or reasons that we don't release to the owner? Or we can't release to the owner?
Usually, if we don't, it's because they don't want the animal, or we can't get a hold of them, or it's not chipped. We don't know who it belongs to. So when we post, we don't, but we do. We'll keep them, and we'll have that volunteer ready. We'll come in here, walk the dogs, feed them, clean up the kennels, do that over the weekend. While, you know, we do have CSO here, but you know, it still helps. So we'll keep them as long as we can.
When we got our dog chip, one of the things that they told us was a lot of people will get the chip, but then they don't follow the second step of go in and register the chip to your address, your phone number, and then also if you move or you get a new phone number, you have to remember to update that, because even them being chipped, they might have a chip, but if it's not linked to anything or it has old contact info, then you also wouldn't get your pet back. So
So some
that's
public
the two.
education around this issue.
Yes.
Obviously save us money taking to the shelter.
Yes.
And they get their pets back.
Well, and I think that's a very, where our neighborhood pet project and SNP can help out and make sure that they do that education when they do the chipping.
Yeah, and then just to highlight that, thank you for bringing that up, City Manager Wood. I really have to give kudos to the code enforcement, because during career days, they're educating the kids, because sometimes we as adults forget or we just don't want to do it. And I come and I have my child come home and remind me, oh, code enforcement was there. They said this is the process. If I want to get a new pet, this is what I have to do. Or they do give them the education. So I really do feel like that is huge. some people might see it as a waste of time for them to actually be at career days, but I think it's huge. It's so important, especially at that age, because the kids are the ones bossing the parents around, like, this is what you need to do. This is the law. So I really want to go ahead and highlight that as well, that they're there and they should be continuing at the different career day events.
Thank you, because that is, we do get some flack because they go to every community event, whether it's elementary school, middle school, high school, career day, job day, they're there. Harvest Festival, they're constantly, that's one of their top priorities. And it's an opportunity to reach people who wouldn't normally reach, because they don't come to city council meetings or they don't come to a workshop or what have you. We'll go to them and try as, communicate that message.
Chief, you mentioned the administrative citations. Are those for particular items or?
Yes, for city code violations, ordinance violations.
And I was wondering, do you have a program as far as, you have major parking problems everywhere, of course. And you've got, abandoned cars that are sitting on the sides of somebody's yard, on in the backyards or on the driveways along the side. Do we have a program for citing those cars that are obviously abandoned?
I have a program as we're gonna work on one side of the city and start working another, just because we receive so many calls. It's where are you and where are you going now? Do you see something along the way to the next stop? Or now that you're done, you have some free time and you're in this neighborhood on the west side of town, what do you see in that area? So we don't have a program as that, that's a very meticulous, methodical grid or pattern to do that.
That you do site them if you.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And sometimes we need to go several times, or they're building cars in their backyard and they got a full-on shop, and they will work with them because they've got so much metal back there that it takes time to clean it up, get rid of it, recycle it, whatever it is they're going to do with those vehicles or shells or.
You can see a lot of it like on people's driveways. Inside, like cars got weeds growing around it. Obviously hasn't moved in 6 months or a year.
We can always do better. And that's the thing, is we can always do better, and having that information given to us, or hey, look at this, that's important for us. Because now when you go and pinpoint, I go and pinpoint the starting, they pinpoint so that way we get that path. Is there something that we're not doing or that we're missing? Something that's obvious to you because you live in that neighborhood, but it's not obvious to us. So we want the feedback, we want the information.
I think a lot of people get really confused as to their property, and it's on my property and I can have my car torn apart and sitting there in an eyesore because it's my property.
Yes, there's a lot of that.
But I'll get back to it. It's only been 6 months.
Yeah, I'm gonna fix it.
All right. Thanks very much, Chief.
Thank you.
Very important. Appreciate it. All right, we'll move to item K1, receive and file housing element annual program report 2023. Staff report, please.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Good evening, council members and Mayor White. My name is Evelyn, and I'm here with the Community Development Department. And I have a brief report for you on the Housing Element Annual Progress Report. Every year under California state law, cities are required to file an annual progress report, an APR, with the Department of Housing and Community Development. These reports track various activities, including housing element programs, rezoning activity, and progress towards our regional housing need allocation, RHNA that is, which is just a measure of building permits issued. So these reports must be reviewed and accepted by the city council, then filed with HCD. The report was due April 1st, and as such, we submitted the report. But should you have any revisions, a revised report can be submitted. For this presentation, I only included the most relevant table, which is table B of the report, and it's included as attachment 1. The full report can be found on the city website. If you're a fan of Excel spreadsheets, feel free to take a look on our community development tab. So this annual progress report reports on calendar year 2023, which is a significant year since it marks the end of the 5th RHNA cycle. So the 5th RHNA cycle ran from 2015 to 2023. For For the 2023 year, the final year, the city issued building permits for 128 units. The breakdown of this includes 28 very low income units, 72 low income, and 28 moderate income. A bulk of these building permits came from the Greenfield Commons project. As I'm sure you're familiar with, it's a 100 unit apartment complex project on Walnut Avenue. We made up a bulk of those permits, and they've actually reached a pretty big milestone this week. They've reached the halfway point of phase one. So that's exciting news. I'm sure you've seen the buildings coming around town, and I believe they've dropped their final building this week for this phase. So exciting stuff to keep an eye on. As I mentioned, this year does conclude that fifth RHNA cycle. During this 8-year cycle, the city exceeded its allocation in every income category. This is a significant accomplishment because very few cities in the state were able to reach this allocation. I believe in the Tri-County area, we were the only city to reach that. So the city of Greenfield joins a very short list of cities to meet that milestone. So that's awesome stuff. Originally tasked with planning and issuing permits for 363 units, we issued permits for 629. So on table 1, I believe, it says 749, but that number should actually be 629, which is still way above what the state allotted for the city. Next year, we'll start reporting on the 6th housing element cycle. For this next 8-year period, which will run until 2031, the city has been tasked with planning and issuing permits for 730 units. The breakdown is 101 very low income, 66 low, 184 moderate, and 379 above moderate income units. So it's a big increase from the last cycle, with a big increase, especially seen in the above moderate income category. We've made some progress since this 6th cycle started in July, and we've issued 125 building permits so far. And we have 7 years remaining, so we're optimistic that the city will once again meet this RHNA allocation and maybe even exceed it again. Yeah, that concludes my report. We recommend that the city council receive and accept the 2023 housing element annual progress report. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
First, I'm going to open it up for public comments. Any public comments on K1? Seeing none, I will come back to council. Any comments from you? Comments?
I think my only comment is, Evelyn, you did a really great job.
Thank you.
Nervous, but you did an awesome job. Yeah. Paul should be worried back there, huh, Paul? No, very key and detailed and everything. So thank you for that.
I move to accept.
Receive.
Receive.
And file.
Yeah.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Been moved in second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, K2, resolution of the city council, city of Greenfield to approve a new full-time employment position of utility systems operator for the wastewater division, and I make a supplemental appropriation of $9,000 to the 2023-24 fiscal year budget to fund the USO position. Staff report, please.
Good evening, Mayor White and council member. The Public Works Department wastewater division is in dire need of another utility system operator, full-time employee to be added to the wastewater division. Currently, wastewater division has 4 full-time positions. There's 2 utility system shift operators, one of which is currently vacant. The application opportunity did close on April 30th, and we're rifling through the applications for that. There is 1 utility system operator and 1 maintenance worker that was staffed commencing May 7th. The request to add 1 full-time employee utility system operator immediately to assist in keeping the wastewater treatment plant functioning to the city's best abilities possible in preparation for the new MBR treatment plant when constructed. The position is crucial as the wastewater division is currently being supplemented by water division staff daily, which in turn provides a deficit in staffing for the water division. If approved, the new USO position recruitment would take place immediately and have a short application window to expedite the hiring process, given applicants meet the minimum qualifications of the job description. The budget and financial impact, if approved, the $9,000 supplemental appropriation would accommodate wages, uniforms, safety gear, and benefits for the remainder of the fiscal year. The amount would be from the Sewer Enterprise Fund. And staff recommends that city council adopt the proposed resolution to approve a new full-time position for the wastewater division.
Any public comments on K2? Seeing none, I'll come back to the council for comments, review, and action. Any comments?
So what does this look like for the budget for next year?
That's my question.
So a little bit of background. Originally, I put in for another maintenance worker position for next fiscal year dedicated to the wastewater plant, but we're seeing the need to have certified staff. So in talking with City Manager Wood, we decided it would be best to go ahead and not ask for a maintenance worker position, new full-time employee, but to ask for a utility system operator. And we actually we need to get it moving quicker. Just because even though we have another maintenance worker out there now we have new equipment, and we're still just not catching up, and we need to make sure that, we can stay within our parameters, but also release that water division staff back to the water division. It's a good cross-training opportunity, but at the same time, we need to have them on that side, completing tasks and repairs and different maintenance programs on the water side.
Questions? I assume there is a job description in place for the position.
Yes, so there is a current job description.
It's on the pay scale somewhere.
Yes. Yes.
Great. And we'll come back to council for a resolution on 2024-57.
Move to adopt.
All second.
Second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, K3, discuss and provide direction regarding city council, social media and media press policies to amend the city council code of conduct. Staff report, please.
Good evening, Mayor White and City Council. I'm just going to pull up my PowerPoint. Okay. So this item before you is a discussion of the City Council Code of Conduct and council rules as they relate to social media and also traditional media, so the press. If you'll recall that on April 4th, the City Council had a study session in which they discussed all sorts of amendments to the, sorry, just going to shift around my screen, to the Council Code of Conduct and the council rules. And as a part of that discussion, the City Council directed the city attorney to bring back more information about what other cities do as it relates to social media policies and communication with the press policies. And so that's what this presentation tonight will just provide you a little bit more information about the law that surrounds those two issues and also a little bit about what other cities do. And then the hope is that you'll provide direction if there are any changes that you want to make to your own code of conduct or council rules related to those two issues, that you'll provide direction, and that I'll incorporate that into your two documents and bring them back to the next meeting, incorporating the changes from April 4th and from tonight for adoption. So we'll start with social media and the Brown Act. So social media is really, as it relates to city councils and other public officials, is dictated or regulated by the Brown Act and also the First Amendment. So I'll start with just a discussion of the Brown Act. So we did research what other city councils do with respect to social media policies, and typically those policies focus on preventing serial meetings and other types of prohibited conduct under the Brown Act. So you'll remember that serial meetings are when one council member communicates with another council member, and that council member communicates with another council member, and it results in at least 3 council members discussing an issue outside of a public meeting. So city council policies typically address this in 2 manners. Some of them prohibit council members from interacting with social media sites in any way, including commenting, liking, sharing, retweeting, where other city councils allow council members to interact with official social media sites, but limit those interactions to prevent serial meetings or other violations. So you could go with a strict approach and not allow any sort of interaction with one another on social media, or a little bit more lenient approach where those interactions are limited in such a way that it would prevent a serial meeting. The Brown Act specifically prohibits council members from directly responding to any communication on a social media site made by another council member if the matter is within the city council's jurisdiction. So the Brown Act prohibits a majority of members of council from using social media to discuss among themselves matters within the city council's jurisdiction. And the Brown Act defines discuss among themselves to include communication made, posted, or shared on social media. And that could include anything like a thumbs up. It doesn't have to be an actual comment, but even something like a like on Facebook would be considered a discussion among yourselves. So typically in social media policies, only one council member can interact with a post or a topic on an official social media site, which can be challenging if there's a really, long stream of comments, having to look and see, well, did one of my colleagues already comment or like this post, and then having to regulate yourself to not interact with that post. So then, as I mentioned, social media, there's also First Amendment concerns to consider when you're regulating your own conduct. So there was a very recent United States Supreme Court case that was just decided. There was really 2 cases that were decided together in March of 2024, and it discussed when a government official's actions on social media constitute a government action or when it constitute a personal action. And that distinction is important because if it constitutes a government action and there's a blocking of a post or a blocking of a person, then it could be considered a violation of that person's First Amendment rights. Whereas if a government official is acting as a person and not as a government agent, then it wouldn't be a violation of a person's First Amendment rights. So really there's that distinction between whether you're acting as a person or on the government's behalf is important. And I'll talk about how the court distinguished those 2 things to the extent that they did. And just to be clear, a government official, when I'm talking about this part of the law, can be a government employee, could be an elected official, or it could be an appointed official. So a government official would incorporate all those people. And one of the cases actually involved a city manager, and the other case involved school board officials. So what the court said was that an official's actions constitute a government action if the official possessed actual authority to speak on the government's behalf, and the official purported to exercise that authority when they spoke on social media. And they stated that whether the action constitutes government action, or whether they possess actual authority, or whether they're exercising all their authority, is all fact and action specific. So there's no real general rule. You have to actually look at the actual conduct that occurred. So they gave the example that if you're deleting a person's comments from a specific post, then the analysis would focus on that particular post. In that one post, was the official acting on the government's behalf in their official capacity or in their personal capacity? Whereas if it were a clearly government site, then blocking any particular person from that site the analysis would be more site specific. So that may be confusing. So feel free to ask and I will answer to the extent that I can. So basically they said it really depends on the circumstances. So that's that recent court case, which gave us a little bit of clarity, but I think also probably caused a little bit of confusion. Yeah, clear as mud, as usual. So the recommendation for social media, and this is obviously up to you, but the city attorney would recommend that if you decide to establish social media policies, so what I'll say is that those laws apply whether you adopt them in your policy or not, right? So putting them into your policy would just create clarity for you or kind of ease of understanding, but those are the laws regardless. But if you did decide to establish social media policies, the goal would be to reduce a risk of liability to a council member for potential First Amendment or Brown Act violations. So as a general practice, we recommend that council members establish separate pages for your personal use and your official council member use. So that's one recommendation. Also, when you do have a personal site, it's recommended that you include some sort of disclaimer that this is my personal site. I'm not acting as a council member here. And then if you do similarly, council members, you should consider including a link to the city's official social media. So when you're posting as yourself, rather than creating your own posts about the city's activities, just linking to the city's actual official post would in some way protect you from acting on the government's behalf. Because really, like any citizen, you're just like sharing what the city has already posted. Hopefully that makes sense. Oops. And then another recommended policy would just be establishing some sort of policy that would prohibit yourselves from commenting, liking one another's posts to avoid that serial meeting issue. And then traditional media, there's really less law surrounding this issue. Most cities are orienting their media or press policies towards managing the city's brand or ensuring consistent responses from staff and council. So you're not telling all sorts of different stories around town. So as a result, cities with media or press policies, they tend to either designate individuals as a contact, so a PIO or a city manager, and some of them even say that all press contact has to happen at a certain location. So whether that's council chambers or in front of City Hall. So those are just a couple of things that we found that other cities do. But I would remind you that council members, just because you're elected, don't lose your own First Amendment rights. So it would be not recommended that you prohibit a council member from speaking to the press because they are still citizens of Greenfield and this country, and so have their own right to speak. So if you did want to place some guardrails around that, it would be okay, but it wouldn't be advised that you just prohibit council members from altogether speaking with the press. And with that, I can answer any questions.
Great. Let's take it up to public comment first. And is there any public comment? I see one hand raised.
Gabby?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Yes, I definitely had a comment around this. I actually was blocked by Councilwoman Martinez, and that was my concern. So I thought that was a clear violation of my First Amendment right in regards to her Facebook page that she promotes position. So for me, it's like have clarity claim on your Facebook that you're.
Gabby, you are breaking up a little bit here.
Just
We've lost.
I only want these comments and comments. I want to only, only positive comments, and I'm going to block anybody who is holding me accountable for my actions, right? So for me, I think it's really important to distinguish your personal versus if you're going to use your title. So that I think that's very, very important. And also the language, the passive aggressive language and being professional. How are you guys doing providing education? Because maybe it is not being educated. What is professional, is passive aggressive language would be perceived as passive aggressive language while you're posting. So those are my comments.
Thank you very much. Any others? Right. Come back to council for comments, review, and action. Comments?
Comments? So I saw that you mentioned the disclosure that we have to provide, right? And I know in the past that was part of the whole League of Cities kind of push when it comes to like our official city council page. But I saw in your PowerPoint presentation, Jennifer, that you also mentioned we have to have a disclaimer in our personal page, right?
So these are just recommendations. They're not, there's nothing that says you have to do that. It's just that would make it clear to the citizens and anyone who cares which is which.
Okay.
So that's just it's a recommendation. It's not required.
I know, because I hear it, and I think I'm the only one that gets complaints all the time regarding a slap in the hands for what I post and what I don't post. I mean, from something as posting about Mr. Potato Head, that was so offensive. So I find it funny, but anyway, some people don't have the humor. But I'll make sure to have my disclaimer. But then also, I think we have to look into complaints when we get complaints from community members. Because some of the complaints that did came in were actually from my personal page. So people want to make I'm trying to find the word, a big deal out of something without having the actual facts. And so I would just say also for administrative wise, like legal counsel and city manager, because obviously you would be getting the complaint, and mayor, that you understand which page is which, and if I have to send you pictures, because I know that I've been harassed, not only my council page, my personal page, now even my workspace. They're attacking me in my work website and Facebook page and a social media post. And another thing that I had, well, question, we can interact with one another. That's something that we have been getting information on. But what about commissioners? Because I know Commissioner Zavala is on, and she has joined my Facebook lives when I've done some. I do give her a shout out when I see her because I want to acknowledge who's in the room. But I know that she did go into my business page, my company, and she did leave a comment or something behind. So at that moment, I didn't interact with her because I just didn't know what was the whole ordeal between council and commissioners. Is it that fine line, or is it just something different? Because eventually we are two different boards.
Yeah, so it is, you are two different boards, so that wouldn't violate any serial meeting issues. Where it would get a little tricky is if more than two planning commissioners posted or commented on your post, then they're creating their own serial meeting for the planning commission. So it's a little tricky where it's acceptable for a council member and a planning commissioner to discuss city business. But if somehow that creates more than one planning commissioner talking about that issue, then it could create a serial meeting. Does that make sense? Because you're separate, but it's, once you start getting together, like it seems it could draw others in, if that makes sense. So she can comment, and wouldn't be any sort of violation. It's when others then start to comment as well that it might get tricky.
And I think that's also where the piece about having it be something relatable to the city as well. So if you posted a picture, like when your son went to Sacramento, and that doesn't directly affect the city, so we could like that because it's not directly affecting the city, as opposed to something else like the SAS stuff. It may affect the city, it may not. I think that's kind of
Yeah, that's true, but that's also where it goes back to that. And that the analysis from the Supreme Court was related to the First Amendment, but if you think about the way they analyzed whether something was a violation, if you block it at the page level or the
Right.
discussion level, you kind of, if you look at this the same way, if it's a official council member page, you could almost assume anything on it is related to city business. I mean, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but I always prefer to be more conservative. So, but yeah, what you're saying is true, that it wouldn't necessarily be a violation.
Because I know several companies I've worked at, I've had to do their disclaimer on my personal page that says, these are the opinions expressed on this page are my own and do not express, they are not the opinions of my employer. That's actually permanently on my Twitter account, simply for that reason, because I don't state who my employer is.
I do like the idea of having the personal news on the city page. And that's just makes a lot of sense. And make it really clear. Personally, I think you pretty much should adopt what you're recommending. I don't know what the.
I would agree. I think it makes sense.
So the recommendations for social media were separate pages and then also just not engaging one another on those pages.
No, that's a moving target. That's something that's come out recently, right? In the last 6 months or so.
For the Brown Act?
Not commenting.
Yeah, maybe more than 6 months, but not very long. Yeah, it's been, yeah.
I think we heard that.
Yeah, that was a big topic that it just happened because they were redefining the Brown Act in light of social media and Zoom meetings and everything else.
Yeah. Okay. And then any desires related to media or press?
On the media?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
On the media, the only thing that I would add is that the council be notified if somebody's going to do speak to the media or do a press conference or whatever, just so you know. You were on there when we did the reward.
Right. I've done a few with kids.
I didn't know. So somebody told me, hey, Mayor, and I was like, oh, I don't know. So just kind of a heads up, you know.
Yeah.
They ask us, well, what was he doing? What's going on?
So would you have that individual council member contact the city manager and he would distribute that information to everybody?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
That'd be good, yeah.
We want to establish him as the PIO as well for any major.
That might be a different, that might be a different discussion.
Okay, fine. We'll point Bill as the PIO.
Yeah, I think that's not outside of the scope of this agenda item.
Well, we should have somebody. I think
Well, that's why I said either Paul or Bill because. Right.
Makes sense.
Because obviously, if people don't come down here just to talk about all the good stuff that's happening in Greenville, we usually come down here to talk about something bad that's going on. Which is why I suggest.
I could testify to that.
Which is why I suggested Bill, actually.
There you go. You're perfect for that, chief.
I think city manager is the course that needs one that's ultimately responsible.
I agree with the city manager or yes.
Yeah, designate. Right.
Anything
Anything else
else?
from us or?
No, I don't think so.
All right.
I do want to go back and just ask a question about the social media stuff, because is it considered infringing upon somebody's freedom of speech if you don't have a city page or, you know, a page related to government stuff,
No.
but you get requests from city residents, but you don't accept them because you only, you know, it's a personal page.
Yeah, not if it's clearly a personal page, then no, because you are, again, also entitled to some privacy.
I think that's where the gray area came in, when we had the other meeting, because then I think it was the one when Mary was here and she said, well, if you comment on anything that is related to the city, then it's now a city page. But then that's such a, you know, gray area as a resident, and I'm saying like, oh yeah, you know, the rec center opened or whatever. So I am speaking about something that is related to the city, but I'm not doing it as a council member. I'm just sharing something or sharing something that the city had shared. And so there's this really gray area that makes it hard. And so like, I used to like and love like everything the city was doing. And now I just like don't at all, because I don't want to get hit with some kind of violation. But at the same time, like I used to share that stuff anyway, you know, things about that are happening in the city.
Yeah.
So like, would you suggest we just don't at all from our personal pages, or?
Well,
Safe?
I mean, the court actually kind of addressed that directly in that they said if you're going to post something about the city, just share the city's post. Like you could share their post and then it's just sharing something that's already out there. So that isn't necessarily you acting on the government's behalf because they've already done the acting, you're just sharing the information. So rather than creating your own post about it.
So not adding any text to it, like if it.
Yeah, you just share.
If we're going to keep this finally reopening or something.
Well, I mean, I
Shouldn't say that.
it's just, I don't think we can like necessarily answer kind of what if scenarios because basically what was said was it's very like specific to the actual post or the action or so each one would be analyzed separately. So I don't think we can necessarily like give very detailed advice. It's more keep it, don't do it, keep it separate. That's
And I
like
think
the
that's where the
high
whole
level.
disclaimer thing comes in is if you put it on your personal page, these are my thoughts and opinions, not the city's or something like that. I think that's a little bit of a layer of protection there.
Yeah, but but that's better if you're talking about your kids or your job or
Looking back to yay, California Pizza.
not city business.
California Gourmet's back open. I think that
Like just random stuff,
will
you know,
kind
but
of
yeah.
be, again, going back and doing the whole thing about looking at the context of it as well.
Yeah.
You're saying, yay, I'm glad it's back, as opposed to an official city post. I think that would be kind of the difference. here.
Yeah. You said, I like pizza, so I'm glad it's back.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. It's clear as mud, as the mayor said.
I'm gonna keep. Not.
Yeah. Probably better for people's mental health.
When I come to my page, you're gonna see a bunch of baby pictures.
All right, we'll move to adjourn to closed session. You want to read this, Jennifer?
The city council will meet in closed session to discuss two items. The first pursuant to government code section 64956.9 D1, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation. The case is Andrew Sandoval versus City of Greenfield, case number 23CV003551. The second item is pursuant to government code section 54956.9 D2, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. The potential number of cases is unknown.
Right, we'll adjourn to closed session.
Mayor White, would you please call for public comment?
Does anybody have any public comments on the closed session? Seeing them, I will now do the closed session. Reconvene to open session. All right, there is nothing to report from closed session, correct? All right, brief reports on conferences, seminars, and meetings attended by mayor and city council. League of California Cities Monterey Bay Division. The only thing I have is what Councilwoman Martinez mentioned earlier. There is the webinar that's coming up on the state budget on the 22nd. And that's being held by the League of California Cities. Transportation Agency for Monterey County.
We had a meeting last month. We kind of got a little sidetracked. We didn't more political than it was about transportation. But still a conversation about the, we voted, to go ahead and start with the, roundabouts. To get everything going on that. And, that's pretty much it. Just 2 items that we have.
All right, Association of Monterey Bay Area Governments, that's me. We met on May the 8th. We approved the Monterey Bay Regional Overall Work Program and budget, basically the budget grant bag. And we also continue to give feedback on the regional growth forecasts. One thing I looked over that, and population numbers were in there. Greenfield was at 19,917 projected in 2023. Soledad was at 19,333 and King City was at 13,817. So essentially we would be the largest in the valley. So that was interesting. Salinas Valley Solid Waste Authority.
So our meeting is actually this coming Thursday, so a couple days from now. But at the last meeting, we did approve the budget for next year, which does include a rate increase. So we will be seeing the rate increase coming from Tri-Cities down. One of the things that we discussed as a function of that rate increase was balancing the future growth of the organics fees that are mandated by SB 1383. And as those continue to raise and the diversion rates continue to raise for Monterey County, I believe they said our diversion rate was 68% currently. And the state mandate is only 50% right now. So Monterey County, well, Solid Waste Authority's area of Monterey County is doing very well on that. From what I understand, the peninsula is not doing quite as well. They're just under 50%. So they have additional issues with that, but we're doing very well on that. And the fact that we actually do finally have rates equalized between the South County cities and with Salinas is a huge part of that. But as the SB 1383 rates continue to rise as mandated by the state, that has to come through to the ratepayers. So it has to come through to Tri-Cities and then to us, because that's just the way it breaks down. We did maintain tipping fees with just a moderate increase. I believe we raised them by $2 a ton, which is not significant considering the amount of time that we've been doing this. But we're also planning a potential reopen of a transfer station in North County at Crazy Horse. So we're looking into doing that because we're getting lots of demand from that from North County residents. We're also talking about expanding the hours at Full On Road and adding some additional features to Johnson Canyon so people don't have to go into the facility at.
It's too early for the Salinas facility.
Yeah, because the Salinas facility is unfortunately bottlenecked due to no cause of the authorities. I don't know if you know where it is. It's out on Madison Lane. It's out back where the UPS office is in Salinas. It's basically one lane each way out there. And apparently there have been reports of people having lines on the weekends of 3 to 4 hours to get into the facility. And if you're familiar with any of the facilities, they don't differentiate until you get to the gate. So it's not like not like you can say, okay, well, I'm only taking recyclables or I'm only taking household hazardous waste, so I can go get in this line that's shorter. No, it's you have to get up to the gate and they go, okay, your hazardous waste, you go over here. Your recycle, you go over here. And so it's causing a major backup, which is actually leading to increased dumping in that area because people are just going, yeah, we're not waiting in line any longer. We're just going to dump our load here and leave, which has led to the county implementing $1,000 fines for illegal dumping. and putting up cameras in that area and having the sheriffs monitor that area on a regular basis. Which all results in increased manpower, increased costs and everything else. So, but yeah, so we should be seeing
Expansion
that.
makes sense.
Exactly. So we should be seeing that come back. We'll have to set our rates for Tri-Cities in the next couple of months, I would imagine. I think we have to do it by July 1st for it to take effect. So we'll be seeing that soon.
Right. Monterey Salinas Transit.
The meeting was this Monday. I attended remotely, but for the purposes of the record, I was absent because my remote attendance was not agendized with time. So I was a member of the public for the meeting, but I still sat in on them and was able to still be part of closed session as a board member, but still absent. So the things that we discussed. So just a highlight, a news highlight that MST was on site to help evacuations of, there was 20 to 30 homes that were flooded in North Monterey County. And they assisted with evacuating the residents there. There was a report on ridership, and one of the things that I thought was interesting is that line 23, the King City to Salinas, is in the top 5 clicks that MST gets. And there was 6,205 like inquiries or clicks into that line just for the month of March. Ridership for the month of March showed it was up 29% over last March. And that the actual number was 213,820, which is amazing. Yeah. And then a survey that was done on MST riders showed that 60% of it, the main question, or the one that I was really interested in the results for, was why people elect to take MST. And 60% of the responses, or it was like 57, I think, almost close to 60, was that there is no car available. So a lot of the people riding, they have no choice. It is their only mode of transportation. And then 30%, it was unable to drive. So for them also, it's not a choice, it's the only option. So it just really highlights that MST is providing a vital service to our Monterey County residents. And then I will be meeting with the general manager specifically about services for Greenfield and the Better Bus Network at the end of this week. So
I know the early morning buses, the stop is totally packed.
yeah.
Right. South Salinas Valley Broadband Authority.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't represent the city, but the last meeting we had, which was a few weeks ago, wasn't a lot to discuss. Although I will say that the city managers are meeting with MBEP, which MBEP is the agency director. They manage the administration of the agency, to see if we can do something about the fees that are being charged, because each city is being charged $25,000 for what we think is a program that's being really managed by the people that are doing the work related to the broadband structure. So we think that we want to find out exactly what's going on with that money, and see if we can reduce it. So we have a meeting, it's going to be later this month or early in June to find out if the relationship with MBEP is going to continue. So it's a big thing. It affects all the cities in South County.
All right, Monterey County Mayors Association, we met on the 3rd in Soledad. We heard a presentation by Norm Groot of the Monterey County Farm Bureau on the status of agriculture in Monterey County. Ag is the main economic driver in the county, $4.6 billion, employs 56,000 people. And it's of course very productive. We supply 59% of all leafy greens in the United States, 53% of the broccoli, and 37% of the strawberries. So it just shows how important ag is to our county. And then there's the Salinas Valley Mayors and Managers Group. We met April 22nd in King City. We talked some on the transition from Senator Caballero to whoever's going to be representing us, possibly Senator Laird, maybe getting him down here and talking to him about making connections with our area. The district has changed. And then there was a lot of discussion on AB 413, the parking restrictions at intersections, the item that we were talking about earlier. I guess there's some talk about maybe amending the bill, requiring the 25 feet setback from crosswalks. Because that has such a big impact on, especially on the small towns. So there's discussions on whether that's, we're gonna have time to get that enforced, but it really is supposed to be implemented now. So it's not going to be fully enforced. And
So you'll see, yeah, enforcement is supposed to begin January 1st.
yeah. So, I think with Paul, was there anything else that you had from that meeting?
That's
Then you had, we did a little discussion on the in-depth stuff that you
right.
talked about.
You did, yeah.
All right, planning commission.
So that was last week.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. We'll report on it next time.
All right. City attorney report,
I have nothing to report.
city manager report.
We are in full swing budget mode. This is a difficult budget because of the economic conditions, just nationally, internationally. I'm not a big proponent of just guessing at revenues, and so I'm conservative. I'm not expecting revenues to be much higher than they are this year, which causes issues because costs keep going up. So next meeting, the 28th of March, we will have a budget presentation. We hope to potentially have a workshop if council wants to have a workshop on probably the next Thursday. So it would be before the first meeting in June, with the public going over all the department requests and everything. But the presentation on the 28th, it's probably going to be 20 minutes, half an hour. It's going to go over all the high level things and really where we are. We really hope to have a balanced budget, but that balanced budget comes with caveats about what's included, what's not included. Because at this point, I'm just trying to get the thing to balance in the general fund. What I normally try to do is take all your expenses, all your personnel, compare them to revenues, and there's normally a surplus, $1 million, maybe $2 million. And what that goes to is that's your seed money for your CIPs. Right now, we're struggling to get it to balance with zero for CIP. In which case, I would say we wouldn't necessarily not do any, because we do have grant opportunities that require matching funds. And those matching funds we probably should use, even if, I know, sin of all sins, we take some of our surplus from prior years and use fund balance to help fund those matching things. We'll go over all that and hopefully the individual projects that may affect. So we'll go through all that kind of at a high level on the 28th, just so you've got a feeling for where things are. Everything this year is on ClearGov, which is all accessible. It's not accessible to everybody right now because we're still working through things. But once we come down to everything to where we think we like it and we want to present it, it'll all be open to whomever, the public, so that they can make comments. There's all kinds of graphs and things. We'll walk through with Evelyn Mullen, who's our senior accountant. She's the one that's got everything all squared away with that, so that you can see what's going on and you hopefully be able to pull it up at home and take a look at what we've got so far as a proposed budget. With all the CIPs, there's 34, I think, CIP requests, full details, where it's being funded from, how much it is, descriptions, pictures, all kinds of things. So that part's really good. It's just trying to get things to balance. It's the difficult part. So you have that to look forward to.
Right. Thank you very much. All right. The meeting is adjourned.